Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto fell into hell and became its most desired demon, and got Harem, Naruto x Hazbin Hotel, part 3. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video, so let's begin the video. The air itself seemed to freeze as Lilith descended toward the Hazbin Hotel, her massive dark purple wings creating gusts of wind that shattered nearby windows. The assembled overlords and their forces parted before her like subjects before royalty, which in Hell's hierarchy, they essentially were. Naruto had faced powerful opponents before, beings that could reshape reality with a thought, but the sheer presence radiating from Charlie's mother made even his most dangerous enemies seem manageable by comparison. "Mom," Charlie whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why is she with them?" Naruto placed a protective hand on Charlie's shoulder, his mind already racing through tactical options. None of them were good. Fighting Lilith would be suicide, but surrendering might doom the hotel and everyone in it. All residents to defensive positions, Naruto commanded through the intercom system. "Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. This is not a fight we can win through force." Throughout the hotel, demons scrambled to their assigned positions. Miss Benchus activated her defensive systems, energy shields flickering to life around key structures. Alastor materialized in the lobby, his permanent grin somehow looking grimmer than usual, his power already beginning to manifest in preparation for battle. Well, the radio demon said, his static-filled voice carrying an edge of genuine concern. "This is quite the welcoming committee. I do not suppose we can talk our way out of this one." "We have to try," Charlie said, squaring her shoulders despite the fear evident in her eyes. "I will not start a war with my own mother." She stepped toward the entrance, but Vaggie grabbed her arm. "Charlie, wait. We do not know what she wants. Let me go first, assess the situation." "No," Charlie said firmly, gently removing Vaggie's hand. "This is between me and my mother. I need to face her directly." Naruto moved to follow Charlie outside, but she stopped him with a look. "Please, stay here. Coordinate the defenses if this goes badly. I need to do this alone." Every instinct Naruto had screamed against letting Charlie face this threat alone, but he understood. This was not just a tactical situation. It was family, complicated and deeply personal. He nodded reluctantly, watching as Charlie walked through the hotel's entrance to face her mother. Outside, Lilith had landed in the center of the street, her army arrayed behind her in precise formation. The V stood to her right, Valentino looking smugly satisfied, Vox's screen displaying barely contained excitement, and Volvad already filming everything for her social media empire. To Lilith's left stood several overlords Naruto recognized from the council meeting, those who had voted against the hotel. But what caught Naruto's attention most was the figure standing directly beside Lilith. A tall male demon with features that suggested immense age and power, dressed in robes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Naruto did not recognize him, but the way even the overlords gave him a wide berth suggested this was someone of significant importance. Charlotte, Lilith's voice was beautiful and terrible simultaneously, carrying power that made the air vibrate. "My daughter. Look at what you have built here. A monument to naivety and impossible dreams." Charlie stopped about 20 feet from her mother, her head held high despite her obvious fear. "Mom, I did not know you were back in hell. If you had told me, I would have welcomed you properly." "Would you?" Lilith asked, genuine curiosity in her tone. "Would you have welcomed me if you knew I was coming to shut down this hotel and end your redemption project permanently?" The words hit like a physical blow. Inside the hotel, Naruto felt his power beginning to flare instinctively, golden and crimson energy swirling around him. Alastor placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture of restraint. "Not yet, young Naruto," the radio demon whispered. "Let the princess try diplomacy first. We can always resort to violence later." Charlie's voice carried clearly despite the distance. "Why? Why would you want to shut down the hotel? You used to believe in redemption, in giving people second chances. Dad told me stories about how you advocated for mercy and transformation." "I did believe in those things," Lilith admitted, her expression softening slightly. "Thousands of years ago, when hell was young and I was still naive enough to think that good intentions mattered more than reality. But I have learned better since then." She gestured to the male demon beside her. "This is Azazel, one of the first demons to fall with your father. He has been my advisor and companion during my time away from hell. He has helped me see the truth about redemption and why it cannot be allowed to succeed." Azazel stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of eons. "Princess Charlotte, I mean you no personal disrespect. Your compassion is admirable, your dedication to helping others is genuinely beautiful. But you are attempting something that violates the fundamental laws of reality." "What laws?" Charlie challenged. "Show me where it is written that redemption is impossible." "It is written in the fabric of creation itself," Azazel replied. "When Lucifer and I fell from heaven, we were fundamentally transformed. Our angelic nature was corrupted, twisted into something demonic. That transformation is permanent, irreversible. The same applies to every soul damned to hell. Corruption of sin changes you at a level that cannot be undone. Naruto could not stay silent any longer. He stepped through the entrance, moving to stand beside Charlie. That is not true. I have achieved fusion between demonic corruption and something pure. I am living proof that transformation is not permanent or irreversible. Lilith's gaze fixed on Naruto, and he felt the full weight of her power examining him. Ah yes, Naruto Uzumaki. The anomaly. The demon who thinks he is a hero. Her expression became calculating. My husband told me about you, about the ring he gave you. He has placed quite a bit of faith in you, young demon. I hope for his sake that faith is not misplaced. She turned her attention back to Charlie. Daughter, let me explain something about reality that you clearly do not understand. Heaven and hell exist in balance. Souls are sorted between reward and punishment based on their actions in life. That sorting maintains cosmic equilibrium. Azazel continued the thought seamlessly, as if he and Lilith had rehearsed the speech. If redemption becomes accessible, if damned souls can escape hell and reach heaven, that equilibrium collapses. Hell loses its purpose. The threat of eternal damnation loses its meaning. And without that threat, what incentive do humans have to behave morally during life? Because being good should be its own reward, Charlie argued. Not something done out of fear of punishment. Spoken like someone who has never lived as a mortal, Azazel said, not unkindly. Humans are weak, Charlie. They need the threat of hell to keep them in line, just as they need the promise of heaven to give them hope. Remove either element and their society collapses into chaos. Valentino chose that moment to interject, his voice dripping with false sympathy. Princess, we have been patient. We have allowed your little experiment to continue far longer than it deserved. But enough is enough. These demons, he gestured dismissively at the hotel, are mine. They belong in my clubs and studios, generating profit and maintaining hell's economy. You have no right to interfere with established business. They are not property, Naruto said, his voice carrying an edge of anger. They are people who deserve the chance to change, to be better than they were. Box's screen flickered with amusement. People. These are demons, Naruto. Damned souls who earned their place in hell through choices they made in life. They are not innocent victims. They are criminals receiving their just punishment. The conversation was going in circles, theological and philosophical arguments that had no clear resolution. Naruto could feel the tension building, violence hovering just beneath the surface of the diplomatic exchange. Inside the hotel, the residents were watching through windows and monitoring equipment. Angel Dust stood at the second-floor window, his expression dark as he stared at Valentino. That bastard, Angel muttered. He really thinks we are just property to be used and discarded. Dusk moved to stand beside him. You know this is not going to end peacefully, right? Either we fight or we surrender the hotel. No middle ground with demons like Valentino. Then we fight, Angel said, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. I am sick of being pushed around. If this is where I make my stand, then so be it. Similar conversations were happening throughout the hotel. Demons who had been broken and hopeless when they arrived were now preparing to defend the one place that had shown them kindness. Marcus was arming himself with weapons Miss Pentious had provided. Sarah was helping coordinate younger residents into safe rooms. Even Riley, still earning back trust after his betrayal, was manning a defensive position with grim determination. Outside, Lilith was growing impatient. Enough debating. Charlotte, I am giving you one chance to avoid bloodshed. Shut down this hotel voluntarily. Release your residents back into hell's normal systems. Abandon this redemption fantasy and accept reality. She paused, her expression softening slightly. Come home with me. Work with me to rule hell properly, to maintain order and stability. You are my daughter, and I love you. I do not want to fight you. But I will if you force my hand. Charlie's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. I love you too, Mom. More than you know. But I cannot give up on these people. I cannot abandon the dream of redemption just because it is difficult or threatens the status quo. She took Naruto's hand, drawing strength from his presence. These demons have been working so hard to change, to be better. We have had angels from heaven assess our progress, and they acknowledged we are making genuine headway. How can I tell them it was all for nothing? Because it is for nothing, Azazel said flatly. You are chasing an impossible dream, princess. Better to accept that now before more people get hurt. Lilith's expression hardened, the brief softness disappearing. Very well. If you will not shut down the hotel voluntarily, then I will do it by force. This is your last chance, Charlotte. Stand aside or face me in battle. The moment stretched, heavy with possibility. Naruto could feel his power responding to the threat, chakra and demonic energy swirling inside him in preparation for combat. Around him, he sensed Alastor's power building, Vaggie readying her angelic spear, the hotel's defensive systems charging to full capacity. Then Charlie did something that surprised everyone. She stepped forward, alone, leaving Naruto behind. Her own demonic form began to manifest, horns growing from her temples, eyes glowing with hellfire, power radiating from her in waves that made the ground tremble. "No," Charlie said, her voice carrying absolute authority. "You are not shutting down this hotel. Not today, not ever. If you want to stop us, you will have to go through me first." Lilith's expression cycled through surprise, pride, and sadness in rapid succession. "Oh, my daughter. You have grown so strong, so determined. Your father would be proud." She spread her wings wide, her own power manifesting in a display that dwarfed even Charlie's impressive show. But strength and determination are not enough against millennia of experience and power you cannot even comprehend. The fight began so suddenly that Naruto almost did not react in time. Lilith moved with speed that should not have been possible for someone of her size, appearing directly in front of Charlie and striking with a backhand that sent the princess flying backwards. Only Naruto's instant body flicker technique allowed him to intercept, catching Charlie before she crashed into the hotel. "Charlie," Naruto said urgently, checking for injuries. "That was too fast. We need a new strategy." Charlie coughed, blood on her lips from the single strike. "She is so much stronger than I remembered. How do we fight that?" "We do not fight it alone," Naruto said firmly. "We fight together." He activated his full transformation, the fusion of ninja heritage, demonic power, and Kurama's essence. Golden and crimson energy exploded around him, the nine tails manifesting as swirling chakra. His appearance shifted into that perfect synthesis of corruption and purity that had impressed even Michael. "Impressive," Lilith observed, examining Naruto's transformation. "You have indeed achieved something remarkable, young demon. But let me show you the difference between potential and mastery." What happened next was a lesson in humility that Naruto would not soon forget. Lilith moved through space like it was water, her attacks coming from impossible angles with devastating force. Naruto deployed every technique he knew, shadow clones created diversions while he attempted Rasengan strikes, wind and fire jutsu filled the air with elemental chaos, but nothing connected. Lilith simply existed on a different level. She was not just faster or stronger, she was fundamentally operating under different rules. Where Naruto relied on technique and training, Lilith wielded power with casual perfection that came from thousands of years of experience. A burst of hellfire caught Naruto across the chest, burning through his defenses and sending him crashing into the street. Before he could recover, Lilith was there, her foot on his throat, pressing down with enough force to crack the pavement beneath him. "You fight well," she acknowledged. "Better than most demons your age. But you are still young, still limited by mortal thinking even in your demonic form. I was killing angels when your world was not even created yet." Alastor chose that moment to intervene, his tentacles of shadow erupting from the ground to grab Lilith. The radio demon's power was immense, rivaling many of the overlords, but even he struggled to restrain the Queen of Hell. "My dear Lilith," Alastor said, his voice tight with effort. "I do believe you are being rather heavy-handed with our young friend. Perhaps we could discuss this like civilized demons." "Alastor," Lilith said, sounding almost disappointed. "I expected better from you. You are an overlord, one of Hell's elite. Why are you involving yourself with this doomed project?" "Because it is entertaining," Alastor replied honestly. "And because I have grown rather fond of young Naruto and Princess Charlie. They remind me that Hell does not have to be entirely predictable." Lilith shattered his restraints with a pulse of power that sent Alastor skidding backward. "Sentiment," she said dismissively. "How disappointing." The battle expanded, other defenders joining the fray. Vaggie launched herself at Lilith with her angelic spear, the holy weapon, one of the few things that could genuinely threaten the Queen of Hell. But Lilith caught the spear mid-thrust, examining it with clinical interest. "An angelic weapon," Lilith observed. "How did a demon acquire such a thing? Unless you are not actually a demon at all." She looked at Vaggie more closely, and recognition dawned. "Ah. A fallen exorcist. How delicious. Heaven's own warrior turned traitor for love of my daughter. That explains much about your combat ability." With a casual flick of her wrist, Lilith sent Vaggie flying, the former exorcist crashing through a building on the opposite side of the street. Charlie screamed, rage and fear mixing as she launched herself at her mother with everything she had. The two royal demons clashed in midair, hellfire meeting hellfire in a display that lit up Hell's crimson sky like fireworks. For a moment, Charlie actually held her own. Her power, fueled by desperation and love for her friends, allowed her to match Lilith blow for blow. But it could not last. Lilith had too much experience, too much raw power, too many centuries of combat. The devastating combination of strikes left Charlie broken and falling. Naruto caught her again, his own injuries making the effort painful. "I am sorry," Charlie gasped, blood streaming from a dozen wounds. "I am not strong enough." "You are plenty strong," Naruto assured her, even as he struggled to stand. "We just need a different approach." He looked around at the battlefield. The hotel's defenders were being systematically overwhelmed. The overlords had joined the fight, their forces pushing back the residents despite fierce resistance. Valentino had angel dust cornered, the spider demon fighting desperately but clearly losing. Vox's technological abilities were disrupting Miss Benches's defensive systems. Lilith was documenting everything, her social media posts turning the battle into entertainment for Hell's masses. "We are going to lose," Charlie said, the realization crushing. "Everything we built, everyone we helped, it is all going to be destroyed." "Not yet," Naruto said, an idea forming. "Charlie, I need you to trust me. Really trust me." "Always," Charlie replied without hesitation. Naruto reached deep inside himself, past his ninja techniques, past his demonic power, past even his fusion with Kurama. He reached for something he had kept locked away since arriving in Hell, something he had been afraid to access. In his previous life, Naruto had been connected to all the tailed beasts, drawing on their collective power during the final war. When he died, those connections should have been severed. But Naruto had learned that bonds forged in genuine friendship transcended even death. He called out to them now, to Shukaku and Matatabi, to Asobu and Son Goku, to Kakuo and Seiken, to Chimei and Jayuki, and especially to Kurama. He called across dimensions, across the barrier between life and death, between his old world and this hell he now inhabited. And incredibly, impossibly, they answered. Energy began flooding into Naruto, not demonic chakra, but the pure power of the tailed beasts. It merged with his existing abilities, transforming him into something that had never existed before. The fusion of ninja, demon, and tailed beast collective. His appearance shifted dramatically. 9 distinct tails manifested behind him, but each one glowed with a different color representing each beast. His body was wrapped in a chakra cloak that mixed gold, crimson, and every color of the tailed beast spectrum. His eyes burned with power that made even Lilith pause. "What is this?" the Queen of Hell demanded, taking a step back for the first time in the battle. "What are you?" Naruto's voice carried harmonic layers, 9 distinct tones blending into a single impossible sound. "I am the Jinchuriki of all 9 tailed beasts. I am a demon of hell. I am a ninja who never gives up. I am a friend to those who need one and a protector of impossible dreams." He took a step forward, and the ground cracked beneath his feet from the sheer power radiating from him. "And I am telling you, Queen Lilith, that you will not destroy this hotel. Not while I still draw breath." Azazel moved forward, his own considerable power manifesting. "Fascinating. You have accessed power from another dimension entirely. But it will not be enough." "Then I will make it enough," Naruto replied. What followed was a battle that would be spoken about in Hell for centuries to come. Naruto, empowered by the collective might of all 9 tailed beasts, fought the Queen of Hell and her most powerful advisor to a standstill. His techniques, already formidable, became devastating when fueled by this unprecedented level of power. "Tailed Beast Bomb," Naruto roared, forming a massive sphere of compressed chakra that combined the unique abilities of all 9 beasts. He launched it at Lilith, and even she had to take the attack seriously, creating a barrier of concentrated hellfire to absorb the blast. The explosion leveled several buildings and created a crater in the street large enough to swallow cars. When the smoke cleared, Lilith was still standing, but she looked surprised for the first time. "You actually made me exert effort," she said, something like respect in her voice. "That has not happened in over 1,000 years." Charlie used the distraction to recover, her own power flaring as she joined Naruto. Together, mother and daughter, they attacked with synchronized precision that spoke to deep familial understanding, despite their current opposition. Azazel engaged them both, his ancient power proving formidable. He fought with techniques that predated Hell itself, reality-bending abilities that made the air itself a weapon. But Naruto's tailed beast enhanced senses allowed him to predict and counter attacks that should have been impossible to see coming. The battle raged for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Buildings crumbled, the street was torn apart, and the sky itself seemed to crack under the force of power being thrown around. Inside the hotel, the residents watched in awe and terror. They had known Naruto was strong, but this display of power was beyond anything they had imagined. "He is fighting the Queen of Hell," Marcus whispered. "And he is actually holding his own." "More than holding his own," Miss Benches corrected, her instrument struggling to measure the power levels being displayed. "He is fighting her and Azazel simultaneously and not losing. This should not be possible." Alastor, recovering from his earlier defeat, laughed his static-filled laugh. "I told you all. Young Naruto is special. He is going to change everything about Hell, whether Hell wants to change or not." But even Naruto's incredible power had limits. The tailed beast energy was not native to this dimension, and maintaining the connection was draining him rapidly. He could feel his strength beginning to wane, the chakra cloak flickering as the interdimensional link started to destabilize. Lilith noticed immediately. "You are fading. This power is not sustainable in Hell. You can burn bright for a moment, but you cannot maintain it." She was right, and Naruto knew it. He had perhaps another minute, maybe 2, before the tailed beast power exhausted itself completely. He needed to end this quickly or find another solution. Charlie, Naruto gasped, struggling to maintain his transformation. I need you to do something for me. Anything, Charlie replied. Call your father, Naruto said. Use whatever communication method you have. Tell him what is happening here. Tell him his wife is about to destroy his daughter's dream. Charlie's eyes widened with understanding. She pulled out a device Naruto had not known she possessed, pressing a button that should not have worked in the middle of a battle, but somehow did. Add, Charlie said urgently into the device. I need you. Mom is here and she is trying to shut down the hotel. Please. The response was immediate. A portal of pure light tore open in the sky above them and Lucifer himself stepped through, his expression thunderous. Lilith, his voice carried power that made everyone on the battlefield freeze. What are you doing? The Queen of Hell turned to face her husband and for the first time, Naruto saw uncertainty in her expression. Lucifer, I am simply correcting a mistake. This hotel is dangerous, a threat to Hell's stability. Surely you can see that. What I see, Lucifer said, descending to street level, is my wife attacking our daughter and her friends. I see you trying to destroy something beautiful because you are afraid of change. He looked at the assembled forces, at the overlords and demons who had come to tear down the hotel. All of you, leave. Now. This is a family matter and your presence is no longer required. The overlords hesitated, looking to Lilith for guidance. She gestured sharply and they began to withdraw, the V's looking particularly frustrated at being dismissed. Soon it was just Lucifer, Lilith, Azazel, Charlie, Naruto, and a few of the hotel's core defenders. Naruto released his tailed beast transformation, the power fading as the interdimensional connection severed. He collapsed to his knees, exhausted beyond measure. Charlie rushed to his side, supporting him as he struggled to stay conscious. You did amazing, she whispered. You stood up to my mother and survived. No one has done that in millennia. Lucifer and Lilith faced each other, thousands of years of complicated history evident in their body language. Husband, Lilith said carefully. You know what this hotel represents. It threatens everything we have built. It threatens nothing except our fear, Lucifer countered. Our daughter has achieved something remarkable here. She has given demons hope, shown that change is possible. And you want to destroy that because it is inconvenient. It is not about convenience, Lilith argued. It is about maintaining cosmic balance, about preserving the order that keeps reality stable. Order and stability are just other words for stagnation, Lucifer said. We fell from heaven because we questioned the established order. We created hell as a place for free will and choice. Now our daughter wants to extend that freedom to include the choice of redemption, and you oppose her. He turned to Charlie, his expression softening. I am proud of you, daughter. You have done something I never had the courage to do. You have challenged not just heaven's rules, but hell's as well. You have dared to believe that everyone deserves a second chance. Lucifer looked back at Lilith. I am supporting her. The hotel continues, with or without your approval. If you want to oppose that, you will have to go through me as well. The tension stretched taut, a family divided by ideology and vision for the future. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Lilith's shoulders slumped. I cannot fight you both, she said quietly. My husband and my daughter, united against me. When did I become the villain in this story? You are not a villain, Charlie said, limping over to her mother despite her injuries. You are scared. Scared that if redemption becomes real, it will destroy everything you have known for thousands of years. I understand that fear, but I cannot let it stop me. She took her mother's hands. Please, Mom. Give us a chance. Come to the hotel, see what we are really doing. Talk to the residents. You might be surprised. Lilith looked at her daughter, at the conviction in her eyes, at the genuine belief that change was possible. She looked at Naruto, still on his knees but refusing to stay down, struggling to stand despite his exhaustion. She looked at the hotel itself, battered but still standing, a monument to impossible dreams. Very well, Lilith said finally. I will observe. I will not support you yet, but I will not actively oppose you either. You have 1 year to prove that redemption is genuinely possible. If you can show me even one demon who achieves true transformation, who earns passage to heaven, then I will become your greatest advocate. She paused, her expression stern. But if you fail, if this proves to be nothing more than a naive fantasy, then the hotel closes permanently. Do we have an agreement? We do, Charlie said without hesitation. Azazel looked like he wanted to argue, but Lilith silenced him with a gesture. They departed together, leaving behind a battlefield strewn with rubble and exhausted defenders. Lucifer helped Naruto to his feet. That was quite a display, young demon. I have never seen anyone channel power from another dimension like that. Where did you learn such a technique? I did not learn it, Naruto admitted. I just reached out to old friends and they answered. The bonds we formed transcended death and dimension. Friendship as a source of power, Lucifer mused. How appropriate for someone trying to prove redemption is real. He turned to Charlie, embracing his daughter. I am so proud of you. You stood up to your mother, something I struggled to do for millennia. You are stronger than both of us." As Lucifer departed, promising to send resources to help repair the damage, the hotel's residents emerged from their defensive positions. They had witnessed something incredible, their protector fighting the Queen of Hell herself and surviving. The celebration was muted, tempered by exhaustion and awareness of how close they had come to destruction. But there was also hope, genuine hope, that they might actually succeed in their impossible mission. Naruto and Charlie sat together on the hotel's front steps, both too tired to move further. Around them, others were beginning cleanup efforts, but for the moment, they just needed to be still. "We have 1 year," Charlie said quietly. 1 year to produce a fully redeemed demon. That is not much time. "Then we'd better get to work," Naruto replied, managing a tired smile. The war for Hell's soul had begun in earnest. And somehow, impossibly, they had survived the first major battle. But the real test was still ahead. They had to actually achieve redemption. Not just improvement, not just behavior change, but genuine transformation of a damned soul. And the clock was ticking. The week following Lilith's attack brought a strange mixture of relief and anxiety to the Hazbin Hotel. The physical damage had been extensive, but with resources provided by Lucifer and help from Carmilla's construction crews, repairs progressed quickly. Within 3 days, the hotel looked better than it had before the battle, Miss Pentious having used the opportunity to implement upgrades she had been planning for months. But the psychological impact lingered. The residents had witnessed the raw power of Hell's elite, seen how easily everything they had built could be destroyed. Some found the experience motivating, doubling down on their redemption efforts with renewed urgency. Others became discouraged, wondering if genuine transformation was even possible when forces this powerful opposed them. Naruto spent the first 2 days after the battle in bed, his body recovering from the strain of channeling tailed beast power across dimensional boundaries. Charlie barely left his side, managing hotel operations from his room while making sure he ate and rested properly. "You pushed yourself too hard," Charlie said, adjusting his pillows for the 3rd time that hour. "You could have died fighting my mother like that." "But I didn't," Naruto replied, catching her hand. "And we bought ourselves time. A whole year to prove redemption is possible. That is more than we had before." 1 year is not very long, Charlie said quietly, sitting on the edge of his bed. "We have made progress with our residents, genuine progress, but none of them are anywhere near ready for full redemption. Most are still struggling with basic behavior modification." "Then we need to change our approach," Naruto suggested. "We have been treating redemption like a slow, gradual process. Maybe we need to focus our efforts on 1 or 2 residents who are closest to transformation and really push them forward." Charlie looked thoughtful. "That makes sense tactically, but it feels wrong. Like we are playing favorites or abandoning the others." "We are not abandoning anyone," Naruto assured her. "But we have limited time and need to show concrete results. Once we prove redemption is genuinely possible with even 1 demon, it becomes easier to argue for more time and resources for the others." Their conversation was interrupted by Vaggie, who entered carrying a stack of reports. "Sorry to interrupt, but we have developments. Heaven sent another message through Emily. They want to conduct a second assessment in 3 months to check on our progress." 3 months, Charlie repeated, the color draining from her face. "That is barely any time at all." "There is more," Vaggie continued, her expression troubled. "The message included criteria for what Heaven considers genuine redemption. It is specific and honestly pretty harsh." She handed over a document and Charlie read it aloud for Naruto's benefit. "True redemption requires fundamental transformation of the soul, demonstrated through the following criteria. First, complete cessation of sinful behavior for a minimum of 90 consecutive days. Second, active amends made for past sins where possible. Third, demonstration of selfless action that puts others' welfare above personal gain. Fourth, spiritual purity measurable through angelic examination. Fifth, voluntary sacrifice of something personally valuable for the greater good." Charlie looked up from the document, her expression overwhelmed. "This is impossible. Even our most dedicated residents could not meet all these criteria in 3 months." "Maybe not all of them," Naruto said, his mind already working through the problem. "But what if we focused everything on 1 resident who is already close? Who among our people has the best chance of meeting these requirements?" The question sparked a lengthy discussion that eventually expanded to include Alastor, Husk, Angel, and several other core members of the hotel community. They gathered in Charlie's office, spreading out files on every current resident and evaluating each one against Heaven's criteria. "Marcus has made incredible progress," Charlie noted, reviewing his file. "He went from a violent criminal to someone who actively counsels others against violence. But he still carries so much guilt that I am not sure he has achieved the spiritual purity Heaven is looking for." "Sarah's addiction is under control," Vaggie added. "She has been clean for 2 months and helps run support groups. But I do not know if 90 days of changed behavior is enough to erase decades of drug-fueled sins." What about Riley? Angel suggested, surprising everyone. He messed up with the whole spy thing, but he has been busting his ass to make amends. Working with Miss Pentious on security, being completely transparent about his mistakes, actively helping protect the hotel. Alastor's permanent grin somehow looked skeptical. The boy has potential, but he is also relatively new to the redemption process. Heaven will want to see sustained transformation, not just a few months of good behavior after getting caught betraying everyone. The discussion continued for hours, evaluating resident after resident. Each person had made progress, some significant, but none seemed ready for the level of transformation Heaven demanded. Finally, Naruto spoke up with an observation that had been nagging at him. We are thinking about this wrong. We are looking at who has changed the most, but Heaven's criteria are not just about change. They are about spiritual purity and selfless sacrifice. Who among our residents has demonstrated those qualities most consistently? The room fell silent as everyone considered the question from this new angle. Then Husk, of all people, spoke up quietly. What about the kid? Everyone turned to look at him. What kid? Charlie asked. The rabbit demon, Husk clarified. Molly. She arrived about 2 months ago, pretty quiet, keeps to herself. But I have been watching her, and she is different from the other residents. I remember her, Naruto said, his mind pulling up the memory. Small demon, maybe 4 feet tall, died young in a car accident that she caused while texting and driving. She killed herself and 2 others. That's the one, Husk confirmed. She has been working harder than anyone to make amends, even though the people she killed are beyond her reach. Volunteers for every community service project, helps the other residents without being asked, never complains or seeks recognition. Alastor's expression became thoughtful. Young Molly. Yes, I have observed her as well. She carries her guilt like a physical weight, but instead of letting it crush her, she uses it as motivation to help others. Interesting choice. Charlie pulled Molly's file, reading through it carefully. Her behavioral record is perfect. Not a single incident or complaint in 2 months. She has been attending every therapy session, participating in all group activities, and her counselor notes show genuine remorse and desire to change. Let's talk to her, Naruto suggested. See if she would be willing to really commit to this, to become our proof of concept for redemption. Finding Molly was easy. She was in the hotel's community kitchen, preparing food for the evening meal despite that not being her assigned task. When Charlie, Naruto, and the others entered, she looked up with surprise and immediate anxiety. Did I do something wrong? Molly asked, her voice small and worried. No, nothing wrong, Charlie assured her gently. Actually, we wanted to talk to you about something important. Can you sit with us for a few minutes? They moved to a quieter area, and Charlie explained the situation. Heaven's criteria for redemption, the 3-month deadline, and why they thought Molly might be their best chance at proving transformation was possible. Molly listened in stunned silence, her eyes growing wider with each revelation. When Charlie finished, the small demon was quiet for a long moment. You want me to be the test case, Molly said finally. The one you focus all your resources on to prove to Heaven that redemption works. If you are willing, Charlie said. We would not force this on anyone. But Molly, we have watched you these past 2 months. You have been working harder than anyone to be better, to make up for your mistakes. We think you have a real chance at achieving full redemption. Tears began streaming down Molly's face. I killed 2 people. A mother and her daughter. I was texting while driving, not paying attention, and I killed them. Then I died too, and ended up here. Every day I wake up and remember their faces from the news reports. Every day I wish I could take it back. She looked up at them, her expression raw with emotion. If there is even a chance I could be redeemed, could somehow make up for what I did, I will do whatever it takes. I do not care how hard it is or what I have to sacrifice. Those people deserve to live, and I took that from them. The least I can do is try to be worthy of a second chance. The conviction in her voice convinced everyone present. This was not someone just going through the motions of redemption. This was a soul genuinely transformed by remorse and determination to be better. Then we are going to help you, Naruto said firmly. All of us. We are going to give you every resource, every bit of support and guidance we can provide. You are going to become the first demon to achieve genuine redemption from hell. Over the next few days, they developed a comprehensive plan for Molly's redemption journey. It was intensive, demanding, and would require commitment from everyone at the hotel. Charlie designed a personalized curriculum that built on the general redemption program, but intensified it significantly. Molly would attend therapy sessions twice daily, participate in meditation and spiritual exercises aimed at purifying her soul, and engage in community service both within the hotel and in the surrounding area. Naruto took responsibility for training Molly in discipline and self-control. He adapted techniques from his ninja training, teaching her meditation practices that would help manage guilt and negative emotions productively, rather than letting them consume her. You carry a heavy burden, Naruto told her during their first training session. The guilt of knowing you ended innocent lives. I understand that burden. I have killed too, and even though I had reasons, even though I was protecting people I loved, the weight never fully goes away. He sat across from her in a meditation pose. But you can learn to carry that weight without letting it crush you. You can transform guilt into motivation, regret into determination. That is what separates redemption from just wallowing in self-pity. Alastor, surprisingly, volunteered to help with what he called the sacrifice component of heaven's criteria. Redemption requires giving up something valuable, he explained. Not just material possessions, but aspects of yourself that you cling to for comfort or identity. For his sessions with Molly, Alastor created scenarios that forced her to make difficult choices, to prioritize others' needs over her own comfort or safety. Some were hypothetical, complex moral dilemmas that had no clear right answer. Others were practical, real situations where Molly had to choose between personal benefit and helping someone else. You did well today, Alastor told her after one particularly challenging session where she had given up her own meal to feed a newly arrived resident who was struggling. You chose compassion over self-interest without hesitation. That is the mark of genuine transformation. Angel Dust took on an unexpected role as Molly's peer mentor. Despite his own struggles with redemption, or perhaps because of them, Angel had insights that the others lacked. Look, kid, Angel said during one of their conversations. The thing about redemption is that it is not about being perfect. It is about choosing to be better every single day, even when it is hard, even when you fail sometimes. He shared his own struggles honestly, talking about his addiction, his complicated feelings about his work for Valentino, and his fear that he was too broken to ever be truly redeemed. But you, Angel continued, you have something I am still working on. You genuinely put others first. When I do good things, there is still part of me calculating what I get out of it. When you do good things, it is just because they need to be done. That is real, Molly. That is the kind of transformation heaven is looking for. Vaggie worked with Molly on making amends, the second criterion on heaven's list. Since the people Molly had killed were beyond reach, they focused on symbolic amends and helping others avoid similar mistakes. Together, they developed a program where Molly would visit mortal high schools through magical projection, sharing her story and warning teenagers about the dangers of distracted driving. It was emotionally devastating for Molly, reliving her mistake over and over, but she insisted on continuing. If even one person hears my story and puts down their phone while driving, if even one life is saved, then maybe my death and damnation means something, Molly said after a particularly difficult presentation where several students had broken down crying. Charlie handled the spiritual purity aspect, working with Molly on meditation, prayer, and exercises designed to cleanse the soul of demonic corruption. This was the most challenging part, as they were essentially trying to reverse the fundamental transformation that occurred when a soul was damned. Close your eyes, Charlie instructed during one of their sessions. Visualize your soul as it was before death, before corruption. Remember who you were, the innocent parts of yourself that still exist beneath the demonic nature. Molly struggled with the exercise initially, but gradually began showing progress. Her demonic features, the horns and claws that marked her as a denizen of hell, started to recede slightly. Her eyes, which had been solid red since her arrival, began showing hints of their original blue. It is working, Charlie reported excitedly to Naruto after one particularly successful session. She is genuinely purifying. I can see her soul beginning to shed its demonic corruption. But the process was not without setbacks. About 3 weeks into the intensive redemption program, Molly hit a wall. The constant emotional intensity, the reliving of her mistakes, the pressure of knowing that the entire hotel's future might depend on her success, it all became too much. Naruto found her on the hotel roof one night, crying uncontrollably, her small body shaking with the force of her sobs. I cannot do this, Molly gasped between sobs. It is too hard. Every day I try to be better, but I cannot escape what I did. Those people are still dead because of me, and no amount of redemption will bring them back. Naruto sat beside her, not speaking immediately, just providing a steady presence. Finally, when her crying had subsided to quiet tears, he spoke. You're right. Nothing you do will bring them back. No amount of redemption or good works will undo your mistake. Molly looked at him with surprise and hurt, clearly not expecting such blunt honesty. But, Naruto continued, that is not what redemption is about. It is not about erasing the past or pretending bad things did not happen. It is about choosing who you want to be going forward, despite what you have done. He turned to look at her directly. Those people you killed, they are gone. But their deaths do not have to be meaningless. You can honor their memory by becoming someone who prevents others from making your mistake. You can transform tragedy into purpose. But what if I fail, Molly whispered. What if I am not strong enough to achieve redemption? Everyone is counting on me, and I am just a kid who made a stupid mistake. Then you fail, and you try again, Naruto said simply. That is what I did, over and over in my previous life. I failed constantly, made mistakes that got people killed, let down people who believed in me. But I kept trying. That is all redemption asks, that you keep trying even when it seems impossible. Molly was quiet for a long time, processing his words. Finally, she wiped her eyes and stood up. Okay, she said, her voice still shaky but carrying new determination. I will keep trying. For those people I killed. For everyone at this hotel who believes in me. And for myself, because I want to be worthy of a second chance. The breakthrough came in week 5 of the intensive program. Molly was participating in a community service project in one of Pentagram City's poorest districts, distributing food to demons who had nothing. It was dangerous work, as desperation made even weak demons capable of violence. A situation developed where a group of starving demons tried to steal the entire food supply, pushing aside the volunteers and threatening violence if anyone interfered. Most of the volunteers backed off, unwilling to risk injury over food. But Molly stepped forward. Despite being one of the smallest and weakest demons present, despite having every reason to prioritize her own safety, she placed herself between the thieves and the remaining food. Please, Molly said, her voice steady despite her fear. I know you are hungry. We all are. But there are others who need this food too. Children, elderly demons, people who cannot fight for themselves. If you take everything, they will have nothing. One of the thieves, a large demon with features suggesting he had been a violent criminal in life, laughed mockingly. And why should we care about them? This is hell. It is survival of the fittest. Because caring about others is what makes us more than just demons, Molly replied. Because maybe we are in hell, but that does not mean we have to be hellish. We can choose to be better. Something in her words, or perhaps the genuine conviction with which she spoke them, gave the thieves pause. The large demon stared at her for a long moment, then slowly lowered his weapon. Take half, he said finally. We will take half, and leave half for the others. Fair compromise. It was not perfect, but it was better than violence and theft. As the thieves departed with their portion, several of the other volunteers approached Molly in awe. That was incredibly brave, one said. And stupid. They could have killed you. Molly smiled, a genuine expression of peace that transformed her features. Maybe. But some things are worth the risk. When Naruto heard about the incident, he knew they had witnessed something significant. Molly had demonstrated selfless action that put others' welfare above her own safety, meeting the third criterion for redemption without even trying. She is ready, Naruto told Charlie that evening. We should contact Emily, ask for an assessment. It has only been 5 weeks, Charlie said nervously. Heaven said 90 days of changed behavior. Are we sure she is ready? Naruto thought about everything Molly had accomplished, the transformation he had witnessed. She has done more than meet the minimum requirements. She has fundamentally changed who she is. Let us give her the chance to prove it. The message to Emily was sent, requesting an assessment of Molly's redemption status. The response came within a day. Emily would arrive in 72 hours to conduct a thorough examination. Those 3 days were tense. Molly continued her normal routine, attending therapy and meditation sessions, participating in community service, but everyone could feel the weight of anticipation. This was the moment everything had been building toward. The night before Emily's arrival, Charlie held a gathering for all the hotel residents. She explained what was happening, why it mattered, and asked everyone to support Molly regardless of the outcome. Tomorrow, one of our own is going to attempt something no demon has done in the entire history of hell, Charlie said, her voice carrying to every corner of the crowded lobby. Molly is going to try to prove that genuine redemption is possible, that we can change fundamentally and are on our way to salvation. She gestured to where Molly sat, looking small and nervous but determined. Whether she succeeds or not tomorrow, she has already proven something important. She has shown that even in hell, even after committing terrible sins, we can choose to be better. We can choose compassion over cruelty, service over selfishness, hope over despair. The room erupted in applause, demons who had arrived at the hotel broken and hopeless, now celebrating one of their own. Marcus approached Molly, hugging her tightly. You have given us all hope, he said quietly. Whatever happens tomorrow, know that you have already made a difference. Similar sentiments were echoed throughout the evening. Angel brought Molly a gift, a small necklace with a charm shaped like a heart. For luck, Angel said, fastening it around her neck. And to remind you that you got a whole hotel full of people rooting for you. Even Alastor, typically detached and mysterious about his true feelings, approached Molly with something like genuine affection. My dear girl, you have been quite the pleasant surprise. I have existed in hell for decades and never thought I would witness genuine redemption. I very much look forward to being proven wrong. That night, Molly could not sleep. She found herself on the hotel roof, staring at hell's twisted stars and thinking about the journey that had brought her here. Naruto joined her, having sensed her restlessness. Big day tomorrow. I am terrified, Molly admitted. What if I am not ready? What if Emily examines me and finds that I am still too corrupted, too demonic to be redeemed? Then we try again, Naruto said, settling beside her. But Molly, I have trained a lot of people in my life. I have seen warriors transform from scared children into legendary heroes. And I am telling you, you are ready. You have done the work, made the changes, become genuinely better. Tomorrow is just making it official. He placed a hand on her shoulder. You know what the difference is between you and most demons in hell. Most demons excuse their sins, blame circumstances or other people for their choices. You owned your mistake completely. You accepted responsibility without trying to minimize what you did. That is the foundation of genuine redemption. Molly leaned against him, finding comfort in his steady presence. Thank you, Naruto. For believing in me when I did not believe in myself. For pushing me when I wanted to give up. For being exactly what this hotel needed. The next morning arrived with beautiful irony. The crimson sky that usually dominated hell had given way to lighter shades, almost pink in places, as if the universe itself was acknowledging the significance of the day. Emily arrived at precisely noon, her 6 wings spread wide, her expression kind but serious. She was accompanied by Uriel, whose presence suggested heaven was taking this assessment very seriously. Princess Charlotte, Emily greeted warmly. Thank you for inviting us back so soon. We are eager to meet this resident you believe has achieved redemption. Molly was brought forward, looking tiny between the 2 powerful angels. Up close, Emily and Uriel could see the changes immediately. Molly's demonic features had receded significantly, her horns almost completely gone, her eyes more blue than red. Remarkable, Uriel murmured, examining Molly with professional interest. The corruption has reduced substantially. This is more progress than we typically see in demons who have been working at redemption for years. Emily knelt to be at eye level with Molly. Hello, Molly. I am Emily. I understand you have been working very hard on your redemption journey. Can you tell me why? Why do you want to be redeemed? Molly's answer was simple and heartbreaking. Because I killed innocent people through my carelessness, and I want to become someone worthy of their forgiveness, even if I can never actually receive it. The examination that followed was thorough and at times painful. Emily and Uriel asked Molly to recount her sin in detail, to explain her journey of remorse and transformation, to demonstrate her commitment to changed behavior. Then came the soul examination, the same process that had made Marcus scream weeks earlier. Emily placed her hand on Molly's forehead, and golden light erupted between them. But unlike Marcus, Molly did not scream. She simply closed her eyes and accepted the intrusion, allowing the angel complete access to her soul, her memories, her fundamental nature. The examination lasted nearly 5 minutes, far longer than any previous assessment. When Emily finally removed her hand, both she and Molly were crying. What you carry, Emily whispered, genuine awe in her voice. The weight of guilt and remorse, it should have crushed you. But instead, you transformed it into purpose. You took the worst moment of your life and used it as fuel to become better. Uriel performed her own examination, her expression clinical but increasingly surprised. The corruption, it is almost completely gone. Not just suppressed or hidden, but genuinely purified. This soul is perhaps 95% redeemed. The 2 angels stepped away, conferring quietly. Every resident of the hotel watched with bated breath, knowing that the next few moments would determine not just Molly's fate, but the future of redemption itself. Finally, Emily turned to face everyone assembled. She spoke formally, her words carrying the weight of official judgment. Molly, by the authority vested in me as a seraphim of heaven, I have examined your soul and found it worthy. You have met all criteria for redemption. 90 days of changed behavior, active amends for past sins, selfless action for others' benefit, spiritual purity, and voluntary sacrifice of comfort for others' welfare. Emily's expression transformed into a radiant smile. You are redeemed, Molly. Genuinely, completely redeemed. And heaven welcomes you home. Golden light erupted from Molly, brighter than anything anyone had ever seen in hell. Her form began to shift, demonic features disappearing entirely, replaced with angelic purity. Wings, small but perfectly formed, sprouted from her back. The transformation was beautiful and terrible at once, a soul being purified and elevated in real time. When the light finally faded, Molly stood transformed. No longer a demon, but an angel. The first soul in hell's history to achieve genuine redemption. The hotel erupted in celebration. Demons who had doubted, who had thought redemption was impossible, were now witnessing undeniable proof that change was real. Charlie was sobbing with joy, hugging Naruto tightly. We did it. We actually did it. Redemption is real. Naruto held her, his own eyes wet with tears. This is just the beginning. Molly proved it is possible. Now we show that it is not just possible but achievable for anyone willing to do the work. Molly, still adjusting to her new angelic form, approached Charlie and Naruto. I cannot thank you enough. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me that my worst mistake did not have to define me forever. She spread her new wings experimentally. What happens now? Now, Emily said gently, you come with us to heaven. There is much for you to learn, a new existence to adapt to. But first, we will report the success to Heaven's Council. Redemption is no longer theoretical. It is proven, demonstrated, undeniable. Uriel's expression was thoughtful. This changes everything. Every theological assumption about damnation and punishment, all of it must be reconsidered. As Molly prepared to depart for heaven, she made one final request. Can I say goodbye to everyone individually? They all helped make this possible. What followed was an emotional hour of farewells. Molly thanked each resident personally, sharing memories and expressing gratitude. Many were crying, touched by her transformation and hopeful about their own potential for redemption. When she reached Naruto, Molly's composure finally broke. She hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. You believed in me when I did not believe in myself. You taught me that guilt can be transformed into purpose. I would not be here without you. You did the work, Naruto said gently. I just provided guidance. You were the one brave enough to face your demons and choose to be better. Finally, Molly stood before the portal to heaven that Emily had opened. She turned back one last time, looking at the hotel and all the demons who had become her family. This is not goodbye, Molly said. I will advocate for all of you in heaven. I will make sure the angels understand that redemption is possible for every demon, not just me. We are going to change both heaven and hell. With that, she stepped through the portal, ascending to salvation. As the golden light faded, the hotel residents stood in awed silence, processing what they had witnessed. Then, as if on cue, they began to cheer. The celebration lasted well into the night, demons dancing and singing, allowing themselves to hope for the first time that they too might achieve redemption. But even as they celebrated, Naruto's mind was already turning to what came next. They had proven redemption was possible. Now came the harder part. Scaling the process, helping more demons achieve transformation, and dealing with the political fallout that would inevitably come. Because if there was one thing Naruto knew for certain, it was that powerful people did not like having their worldviews challenged. Heaven and hell's established powers would not simply accept this change quietly. The war for redemption had just escalated to a new level. And Naruto intended to win it. One redeemed soul at a time. The 24 hours following Molly's ascension to heaven were unlike anything the Hazbin Hotel had experienced. News of the first genuine redemption spread through Hell's information networks with viral intensity, and the response was immediate and polarizing. Vox's broadcasts went into overdrive, his screen face appearing on every channel simultaneously with breaking news updates. Unprecedented event in Hell's history, the Chiron Redda's Vox's voice filled every television, radio, and electronic device in Pentagram City. A demon has allegedly achieved redemption and ascended to heaven. The Hazbin Hotel claims victory in their controversial experiment. But is this genuine transformation or an elaborate hoax? His coverage was predictably slanted, bringing on expert after expert who questioned the legitimacy of Molly's redemption. Some claimed it was mass hallucination. Others suggested Emily had been deceived or was complicit in a conspiracy. A few went so far as to call it a false flag operation, designed to destabilize Hell's power structure. But the truth could not be suppressed so easily. Too many demons had witnessed Molly's transformation firsthand. Video footage captured by Velvet and distributed across social media showed the undeniable golden light, the emergence of angelic wings, the complete purification of a corrupted soul. Within hours, the hotel was besieged. Not by attackers this time, but by supplicants. Hundreds of demons arrived, desperate to be the next success story, begging for entry into the redemption program. Charlie stood at the hotel's entrance, overwhelmed by the sheer number of souls seeking salvation. I want to help all of you, she called out over the crowd's noise. But we cannot accommodate everyone immediately. We need to expand carefully, maintain the quality of our program. The crowd was not satisfied with patient waiting. Arguments broke out as demons accused each other of being unworthy or cutting in line. The situation was deteriorating rapidly when Naruto stepped forward, his presence immediately commanding attention. Listen up, Naruto's voice cut through the chaos with authority honed from years of leadership. I understand you are desperate for redemption. That is good. Desperation means you are ready to change. But redemption is not something that can be rushed or handed out like prizes. He gestured back toward the hotel. What Molly achieved took intense work over weeks. Daily therapy, meditation, community service, constant examination of her own soul. It was painful and difficult. Many of you are not ready for that level of commitment. Naruto's expression softened slightly. But we will help everyone who genuinely wants redemption. We are going to expand the hotel, create a waitlist, develop satellite programs. Give us time to organize properly, and we will give every soul a fair chance. The crowd settled somewhat, mollified by Naruto's promise and intimidated by his evident power. But organizing the flood of interest would require resources and planning far beyond the hotel's current capacity. Inside, an emergency meeting of the core staff was already underway. Alastor had spread a map of Pentagram City across the main table, marking various properties with his characteristic red X symbols. We need additional facilities, the radio demon explained. The hotel can accommodate perhaps 50 residents comfortably. We currently have 43, and I count at least 300 demons outside demanding entry. Unless we plan to start stacking them like cordwood, expansion is necessary. Carmilla, who had arrived within hours of hearing about Molly's redemption, added her own perspective. I can provide funding and construction resources for expansion. This is the most significant event in Hell's history, and I want to be part of making redemption accessible. But we need to be strategic about location and scale. Miss Benchus was already sketching architectural plans, her multiple arms working simultaneously on different aspects of design. I propose a hub-and-spoke model. The main hotel remains the flagship, but we establish satellite facilities throughout the Pride Ring. Each one focuses on different aspects of redemption, allowing us to specialize and handle more demons efficiently. That makes sense tactically, Vaggie agreed. But we need qualified staff for these satellites. We cannot just throw demons into facilities and hope they figure out redemption on their own. Angel raised a point that had been bothering him. What about the overlords? They have been weirdly quiet since Molly's redemption. That does not feel right. Valentino alone should be losing his shit over the idea of his contracted souls escaping through redemption. As if summoned by the mention, the hotel's communication system crackled to life. Miss Benchus's monitoring station lit up with alerts. We have an incoming transmission. It is being broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously. Source is the Overlord Council chambers. Put it on screen, Charlie commanded. The main monitor flickered to life, showing the interior of the council chambers. All 13 overlords were present, seated in their respective thrones. At the head sat Azazel, his ancient features grave and formal. Citizens of Hell, Azazel began, his voice carrying the weight of cosmic authority. The Overlord Council has convened an emergency session to address yesterday's unprecedented event. The claimed redemption of a demon and her ascension to heaven. He paused, letting the word sink in. After thorough deliberation and consultation with Hell's most learned scholars, we have reached a unanimous decision. The council officially recognizes the redemption of the demon known as Molly as genuine and legitimate. The shock in the hotel was palpable. Even the typically unflappable Alastor looked surprised. The council was acknowledging redemption as real. This was huge. But Azazel was not finished. However, the council also recognizes that widespread redemption poses significant risks to Hell's stability and social order. Therefore, we are implementing regulatory oversight of all redemption programs. The screen shifted to display a formal decree. All facilities claiming to offer redemption services must register with the Overlord Council. Programs must meet minimum standards for safety and efficacy. Quarterly assessments will be conducted to ensure legitimate redemption efforts are not being exploited for fraud or manipulation. Additionally, Azazel continued, contracts and sole ownership agreements remain legally binding. A demon under contract cannot pursue redemption without their contractor's explicit permission. This protects the established economic system while allowing redemption for unbound souls. Naruto felt anger rising in his chest. They were acknowledging redemption with one hand while limiting access to it with the other. The contract clause alone would prevent thousands of demons from even attempting transformation. Charlie's expression was troubled but thoughtful. It is not ideal, but it is better than outright opposition. They are trying to control redemption rather than destroy it. We can work with that. Can we? Vaggie challenged. That contract clause means Angel and hundreds of others who work for overlords are locked out of redemption unless their owners agree. Valentino will never let Angel go willingly. Angel's expression was carefully neutral, but Naruto could see the pain beneath. So I am stuck. Even if I do everything right, even if I transform completely like Molly did, I still cannot be redeemed because Val owns my soul. Not necessarily, Alastor interjected, his grin taking on a predatory quality. Contracts can be broken through various means. Technicalities, loopholes, legal challenges. It simply requires creativity and careful planning. Or we could challenge the contract system itself, Naruto suggested. Argue that sole ownership violates the principle of free will and redemption. That would mean going to war with every overlord in Hell, Carmilla said flatly. The entire economy is built on contracts and sole ownership. You cannot simply dismantle that without catastrophic consequences. The debate was interrupted by another alert from Miss Benchus. We have a visitor. A very important visitor. Lucifer himself is approaching the hotel. Everyone moved to the windows to see the King of Hell descending toward the entrance, his arrival characteristically dramatic. Unlike the tense approach of Lilith's attack, Lucifer came alone and openly, his expression unreadable. Charlie rushed to meet her father at the entrance. Dad, what are you doing here? I thought you were maintaining political distance from the hotel. Lucifer embraced his daughter warmly before stepping back to address everyone. I was maintaining distance. Past tense. Molly's redemption changes everything. Neutrality is no longer an option when my daughter has accomplished something this significant. He turned to address the assembled group, his presence commanding attention effortlessly. What you achieved yesterday was remarkable. Genuinely, historically remarkable. A demon redeemed and accepted into heaven after millennia of that being considered impossible. You should all be very proud. But, Lucifer's expression became more serious, you have also triggered a crisis. Every power structure in hell is now under threat. Overlords who built empires on the assumption of permanent damnation are facing potential collapse. The entire economy could destabilize if redemption becomes widely accessible. So you are here to shut us down, Vaggie said defensively, her hand moving toward her spear. No, Lucifer replied calmly. I am here to help you navigate the chaos you have created. Because whether I like it or not, redemption is now real and proven. We need to manage its implementation carefully or risk hell tearing itself apart. He produced a document from his coat, handing it to Charlie. I have drafted a proposal for a royal redemption charter. It would place the hotel and any affiliated programs under direct crown protection. The Overlord Council's regulatory framework would still apply, but you would have authority that supersedes individual overlords. What about the contract issue? Angel asked, speaking up for the first time. Does your charter override soul contracts? Lucifer's expression turned regretful. No. Contracts are binding under hell's fundamental laws. Even I cannot simply invalidate them without destabilizing reality itself. However, the charter does include provisions for contract review and potential renegotiation in cases where redemption is being actively pursued. So Angel could apply to have his contract with Valentino reviewed, Charlie said, understanding dawning. He could, Lucifer confirmed. Success is not guaranteed, but it creates a legal pathway that did not exist before. The conversation shifted to logistics and politics, Lucifer sharing intelligence about various overlords' reactions to Molly's redemption. Some, like Carmilla, were supportive or at least neutral. Others, particularly the V's, were actively plotting ways to undermine or co-opt the redemption movement. Valentino has been meeting with several other entertainment district overlords, Lucifer revealed. They are discussing ways to prevent their contracted souls from pursuing redemption. Expect legal challenges and possibly attempts to prove the hotel is violating existing contracts. Let them try, Naruto said firmly. We have proof that redemption works. We are not backing down now. Admirable determination, Lucifer observed. But determination alone will not be enough. You need strategy, legal expertise, political alliances. I can help with those, but you need to be willing to play the game, not just rely on idealism and raw power. Over the next several days, the hotel transformed from a simple redemption facility into the headquarters of what was becoming a movement. Lawyers provided by Lucifer began documenting everything, creating legal frameworks and protections. Carmilla's construction teams broke ground on the first satellite facility. Applications from potential residents were processed and organized. But the most significant development came from heaven itself. Emily returned with news that shook everyone to their core. Heaven's council has made a decision, Emily announced to the assembled hotel residents and staff. Given the proven success of redemption, they are establishing an official program for evaluating and accepting redeemed souls. No longer will redemption be considered impossible or theoretical. Her smile was radiant with joy. You have changed heaven's policies. Thousands of years of assumption and tradition, overturned by one small demon's transformation. Uriel, who had accompanied Emily, added practical details. We will be sending angelic assessors quarterly to evaluate redemption candidates. The criteria remain strict, but they are now officially recognized. Any demon who meets the requirements will be accepted into heaven, regardless of their past sins. What about Lilith's deadline? Charlie asked. She gave us 1 year to prove redemption was real. Uriel's expression became thoughtful. Queen Lilith's challenge was issued before Molly's redemption. Technically, you have already met her criteria. However, I suspect she will want to see sustained success, multiple redemptions rather than a single case. One success could be an anomaly. Multiple successes prove a viable system. Then we will give her multiple successes, Naruto said with determination. We have hundreds of demons willing to do the work. We will prove that redemption is not just possible but scalable. The first satellite facility, named Hope's Haven in honor of what they were building, opened 2 weeks after Molly's ascension. Located in a quieter district of Pentagram City, it could accommodate 30 residents and focused specifically on demons struggling with addiction and compulsion-based sins. Angel volunteered to help run the facility, his own experience with addiction, making him uniquely qualified to mentor others facing similar struggles. Despite still being under contract to Valentino, Angel found purpose in helping others that went beyond his usual defense mechanisms. This is weird for me, Angel admitted to Naruto during one of their private conversations. Being the one helping instead of the one needing help. But it feels good, you know. Like maybe I am not completely worthless. You were never worthless, Naruto corrected firmly. You just needed to see yourself the way others see you, as someone strong enough to survive hell and kind enough to care about others despite everything. The second satellite, Redemption's Light, specialized in demons who had committed violent crimes. Marcus took a leadership role here, his own journey from murderer to counselor, providing a powerful example for residents. But success bred complications. As more demons pursued redemption, the overlords who profited from their continued damnation grew increasingly hostile. Valentino, in particular, began a campaign of harassment and legal challenges. He filed formal complaints with the Overlord Council, claiming the hotel was interfering with his contracts. He sent agents to intimidate demons considering redemption. He used his media connections to spread propaganda suggesting redemption was a scam designed to exploit desperate souls. The situation came to a head 3 weeks after Molly's redemption. Naruto was conducting a training session at Hope's Haven when the facility came under attack. Not a frontal assault like before, but something more insidious. The demon Naruto did not recognize approached the facility claiming to be interested in redemption. But when the gates opened, he released a gas that spread rapidly through the building, affecting everyone who breathed it. The gas did not kill or cause physical harm. Instead, it induced powerful hallucinations, forcing demons to relive their worst memories and most traumatic moments. Throughout Hope's Haven, residents began screaming, lost in nightmares of their own creation. Naruto, with his enhanced physiology and chakra control, was less affected than others. He immediately recognized this as an attack and moved to protect the residents. Shadow clones dispersed throughout the facility, guiding affected demons to safe areas and providing grounding presence. But the perpetrator was not acting alone. While Naruto dealt with the gas attack, a team of demons infiltrated the facility's records room, stealing documentation about residents and their redemption progress. By the time Naruto realized the theft had occurred, the attackers were gone, vanishing into Pentagram City's labyrinthine streets with stolen intelligence. The aftermath was chaotic. Several residents were traumatized by the forced reliving of their worst memories. Others, terrified by the attack, chose to leave the program entirely. The theft of records meant private information about vulnerable demons was now in hostile hands. Charlie arrived within the hour, her expression devastated by what had happened. "This is my fault. I should have anticipated they would attack the satellites, not just the main hotel." "This is not your fault," Naruto said firmly, though his own anger was barely controlled. "This is on whoever ordered the attack. And I have a pretty good idea who that was." Valentino's signature was all over the operation. The hallucinogenic gas was similar to substances he used in his clubs. The timing and precision suggested inside knowledge of the facility's security. And the theft of records was exactly the kind of leverage he would want. "We need to respond," Vaggie said, her spear already in hand. "We cannot let this attack go unanswered or they will keep targeting us." "But how do we respond without escalating into open war?" Charlie asked. "We need to be strategic, not reactive." The answer came from an unexpected source. Lilith appeared at the hotel that evening, her arrival unannounced but not hostile. Azazel accompanied her, and both looked serious. "I heard about the attack on your satellite facility," Lilith said without preamble. Valentino overstepped. "Attacking redemption seekers, traumatizing vulnerable demons, that crosses lines that even most overlords respect." "You are here to help us?" Naruto asked skeptically, remembering their battle weeks earlier. "I am here because my deadline to you was conditional on allowing a fair test of redemption," Lilith replied. "Molly's success proved redemption is real. But if overlords are allowed to sabotage the program through violence and intimidation, we will never know if it is truly scalable. That is unacceptable." Azazel spoke up, his ancient voice carrying weight. "The Overlord Council is calling an emergency session to address Valentino's attack. You are being invited to present your case and demand accountability. This is your chance to establish that redemption programs are protected under Hell's laws." The emergency council session was scheduled for the following evening, giving Charlie and her team barely 24 hours to prepare. Lucifer provided legal counsel, helping them craft arguments that would resonate with the assembled overlords. "You cannot just appeal to morality or compassion," Lucifer advised. "Most overlords do not care about those things. You need to frame redemption in terms they understand. Power, economics, self-interest." "What do you suggest?" Charlie asked. "Argue that redemption actually benefits Hell's long-term stability," Lucifer said. "Demons who believe change is possible are less likely to rebel or cause chaos. The promise of redemption provides hope, which is a powerful tool for maintaining social order." He paused, considering. "Also, point out that redemption creates new opportunities for enterprising overlords. Facilities, programs, consulting services, there is profit to be made in helping demons transform. Those who embrace redemption early will have significant advantages." The council chamber was packed when they arrived. All 13 overlords occupied their thrones, with Azazel presiding as chairman. But the gallery was also full, hundreds of demons attending to witness what many expected to be a decisive moment in Hell's history. Valentino sat smugly in his throne, flanked by Vox and Volvet. His expression suggested complete confidence that the council would side with him. This session addresses the incident at the redemption facility known as Hope's Haven, Azazel began formally. Valentino, you have been accused of ordering an attack that traumatized residents and resulted in theft of confidential records. How do you respond? Valentino stood, his movements theatrical and calculated. I categorically deny any involvement in the attack. However, I will say that these so-called redemption facilities are havens for my contracted souls to hide from their legal obligations. They encourage breach of contract, which undermines Hell's entire economic system. He gestured dismissively at Charlie and Naruto. The princess and her pet demon have created facilities that actively recruit souls under contract, promising them freedom through redemption. This is theft of property, plain and simple. Charlie stood to respond, her voice clear and strong despite her nervousness. We do not recruit anyone. Demons come to us voluntarily, seeking transformation. And we respect all existing contracts. We have never encouraged anyone to breach their agreements. But you offer them hope of escape, Vox interjected from his throne. Hope that they can be redeemed and thus freed from their contracts. That hope alone reduces their productivity and compliance. Is hope illegal now? Naruto asked, his voice carrying an edge. Are demons not allowed to believe they can be better than they are? Hope is fine, Valentino said smoothly. False hope is fraud. And that is what redemption represents for contracted souls, a false promise that cannot be fulfilled while legal agreements remain binding. The debate continued for over an hour, both sides presenting arguments and evidence. Witnesses testified about the attack on Hope's Haven. Legal experts dissected the relationship between contracts and redemption rights. Finally, Azazel called for a vote on a resolution that would officially protect redemption facilities from harassment or attack, while also affirming the binding nature of soul contracts. The vote was 7 in favor, 5 opposed, 1 abstention. The resolution passed, establishing legal protection for redemption programs while maintaining the contract system. It was a compromise that satisfied no one completely, but allowed both redemption and the existing power structure to coexist. As they left the council chambers, Naruto felt conflicted. They had won protection for their facilities, but the contract issue remained unresolved. Demons like Angel were still trapped, unable to pursue redemption fully without their owner's permission. We will find a way, Charlie said quietly, sensing his frustration. The contract system has existed for millennia, but it is not immutable. We will find loopholes, legal challenges, ways to free contracted souls. Naruto nodded, but his mind was already working on more direct solutions. If legal methods failed, there were other options. More dangerous options, but potentially more effective. At night, Naruto stood on the hotel's roof, looking out over Pentagram City and thinking about everything that had happened. They had proven redemption was real. They had established legal protections for their programs. They had survived attacks and political maneuvering. But the real work was just beginning. Molly's redemption was one success. They needed dozens more, hundreds eventually, to prove the system was truly viable. And they needed to find a way to break the contract system that kept so many demons trapped in servitude. Charlie joined him, as she often did these days, seeking his presence and perspective. We are changing Hell. Really, genuinely changing it. A month ago, redemption was considered impossible. Now it is official policy. But it is not enough, Naruto said. Not while demons like Angel are trapped by contracts they signed in moments of desperation. Then we will change that too, Charlie said firmly. One impossible thing at a time. She took his hand, and they stood together watching Hell's twisted stars emerge in the crimson sky. The war for redemption continued. But for the first time since arriving in Hell, Naruto believed they could actually win it. One redeemed soul, one broken contract, one changed heart at a time. His ninja way had followed him even into death. And it was transforming Hell itself. The month following the Overlord Council's decision brought a deceptive calm to the Hazbin Hotel and its satellite facilities. Redemption programs operated under the new legal protections, and a steady stream of demons applied for admission. 3 more souls achieved full redemption during this period, their ascensions to heaven broadcast across Hell's media networks, as proof that Molly's transformation was not an isolated miracle. But beneath the surface progress, tension simmered. The contract issue remained the program's most significant limitation, creating a 2-tiered system where unbound demons could pursue redemption, while contracted souls remained trapped. Angel Dust personified this inequality, working harder than almost anyone at his own transformation, while knowing that Valentino's ownership prevented him from ever completing the journey. Naruto watched Angel struggle with this reality during their training sessions. The spider demon pushed himself relentlessly, attending every therapy session, volunteering for the most difficult community service projects, and mentoring newer residents with genuine compassion. But there was a hollowness in his eyes, the knowledge that all his effort might be meaningless. "Why do you keep trying?" Naruto asked during one particularly intense session. "If you believe Valentino will never release you, why put yourself through this?" Angel paused mid-exercise, his multiple arms lowering the weights he had been lifting. "Because maybe I am not doing it for redemption anymore. Maybe I am doing it because being better feels good, even if it does not get me into heaven." He sat down heavily, his usual flippant demeanor completely absent. "I have spent decades being what Valentino wanted me to be. A toy, a product, a thing to be used and discarded. Working on redemption, trying to be better, that is the first time in my entire afterlife that I have done something for me. So yeah, I will keep trying even if it is pointless." "It is not pointless," Naruto said firmly. "And I am going to find a way to break your contract. That is a promise." "Golden boy, you cannot just break Hell's fundamental laws because you want to," Angel said, though there was hope in his voice despite his skepticism. "Contracts are binding. That is reality." "Reality can be changed," Naruto replied. "I have seen impossible things become possible before. This is just another impossible thing that needs solving." The conversation stuck with Naruto over the following days. He began researching Hell's contract system obsessively, reading ancient texts in the hotel's expanded library, consulting with legal experts that Lucifer provided access to, and even approaching Alastor about the mechanics of soul ownership. "Contracts in Hell are fascinating constructs," Alastor explained during one of their discussions. "They are not merely legal agreements, but binding magical constructs that tie a soul's essence to the contract holder. Breaking one requires either the holder's consent, the contract's natural expiration, or exploitation of specific loopholes written into the original agreement." The radio demon's grin widened knowingly. "I should know. I hold quite a few contracts myself, though I prefer to think of them as mutually beneficial arrangements rather than slavery." "Do you have Angel's contract?" Naruto asked bluntly. "Alas, no. Valentino acquired that particular soul long before I arrived at the hotel. But I do have others, and I might be persuaded to release them under certain circumstances." "What circumstances?" Naruto pressed. "That depends on what you are offering," Alastor replied cryptically. "Contracts are about exchange, after all. I release souls from my agreements, I would want something of equivalent value in return." "What if I told you I was planning to dismantle the entire contract system?" Naruto said, watching Alastor's reaction carefully. "Would you oppose that?" The radio demon's expression became thoughtful, his permanent grin somehow looking more genuine. "Now that would be entertaining. The chaos alone would be spectacular. But young Naruto, do you understand what you are proposing? The contract system is Hell's economic foundation. Eliminate it and you collapse the entire power structure." "Good," Naruto said simply. "Power structures built on slavery deserve to collapse." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent summons from Charlie. "Emergency meeting," her voice crackled through the hotel's intercom. "Everyone to the main conference room immediately." Naruto arrived to find the core team already assembled, along with several unexpected visitors. Carmilla was there, looking grim. Rosie had arrived from Cannibal Town, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced with concern. Even Zestial, the ancient overlord who rarely involved himself in politics, stood in the corner radiating quiet power. "What is going on?" Naruto asked, immediately sensing the gravity of the situation. "We have a problem," Charlie said, activating the main display screen. "A big one. Heaven's Council has issued new guidelines for redemption that could undo everything we have accomplished." The screen showed an official document bearing Heaven's seal. Naruto scanned it quickly, his expression darkening as he absorbed the contents. "Additional requirements for redemption eligibility," the header read. The document outlined new criteria that demons must meet before even being considered for redemption assessment. Clean record of no violent acts for minimum 2 years. No current contracts or soul-binding agreements. Demonstration of productive contribution to Hell society. Character references from minimum 3 angelic witnesses. "This is designed to make redemption nearly impossible," Vaggie said, her voice tight with anger. "Most demons cannot go 2 years without any violence in Hell. The contract requirement excludes huge portions of the population. And how are demons supposed to get angelic character references when angels rarely visit Hell?" "Emily sent a private message explaining what happened," Charlie said, pulling up a second document. "There was a power shift in Heaven's Council. The faction that opposed redemption gained enough influence to push through these new requirements. They are trying to slow redemption to a trickle without openly opposing it." "Can they do that?" Naruto asked. "Just arbitrarily make redemption harder after we proved it works?" "Technically, yes," Carmilla replied. "Heaven sets the criteria for entry. They have always had that authority. These new requirements are excessive, but they are within Heaven's purview to establish." "So what do we do?" Naruto pressed. "We cannot just accept this. 3 demons achieved redemption last month using the old criteria. Now we are supposed to tell hundreds of other demons that the rules changed and their progress does not count anymore. Rosie spoke up, her voice gentle but firm. There might be a way to challenge this, but it would require going directly to heaven's highest authority. The Seraphim Council, or possibly even higher. You mean God, Zestial said, his ancient voice carrying weight. You are suggesting we appeal to the Creator directly. I am suggesting we explore all options, Rosie corrected. But yes, if heaven's bureaucracy is blocking redemption unfairly, going over their heads might be necessary. The meeting dissolved into strategic planning, different factions arguing various approaches. Some wanted to work within the new system, finding ways to help demons meet the stricter criteria. Others advocated for political pressure, using Lucifer's influence and sympathetic overlords to push back against heaven's changes. Naruto listened to the debates but found himself increasingly frustrated. They were dancing around the real issue, trying to work within systems designed to prevent redemption, rather than challenging the systems themselves. He slipped away from the meeting, needing space to think. His feet carried him to the roof automatically, his usual sanctuary when problems felt overwhelming. Charlie found him there an hour later, knowing without being told where he would go. You left the meeting. I needed to think, Naruto admitted. Everyone down there is talking about working within the system, finding loopholes and compromises. But Charlie, the system itself is broken. Heaven does not want redemption to succeed. Hell's overlords benefit from keeping souls trapped. We keep trying to find ways to appease both sides, but maybe that is the wrong approach. What are you suggesting? Charlie asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. I am suggesting we stop asking permission, Naruto said, his blue eyes intense with determination. We stop waiting for heaven to approve our methods and hell's overlords to accept their power diminishing. We just do what is right and deal with the consequences. That could start a war, Charlie said quietly. Heaven and hell united against us. Maybe, Naruto agreed. But I have started wars before, back in my world. Sometimes the only way to achieve peace is to fight for it first. Charlie was quiet for a long moment, processing his words. Finally, she spoke, her voice carrying new resolve. Okay. Tell me what you are thinking. What is your plan? Naruto outlined his idea, a strategy so bold and dangerous that Charlie's eyes widened with each detail. When he finished, she looked simultaneously terrified and excited. That is insane. It would fundamentally change the balance between heaven and hell. I know, Naruto said. It could get us all killed or worse. I know. My father would probably oppose it. My mother definitely would. I know that too. Charlie took a deep breath, then smiled with determination that reminded Naruto why he had fallen for her in the first place. Let us do it. Let us break the system and build something better from the pieces. Over the next 2 weeks, they assembled a team for what Naruto had started calling Operation Liberation. The goal was ambitious to the point of seeming impossible. Break the magical bindings that made soul contracts enforceable, thereby freeing every contracted demon in hell simultaneously. The team needed to be small enough to maintain secrecy, but skilled enough to accomplish an unprecedented magical working. Naruto obviously was included, bringing his unique fusion of ninja techniques and demonic power. Charlie would provide royal authority and her own considerable magical abilities. Alastor volunteered his knowledge of Hell's deeper magical systems, intrigued by the chaos the plan would create. The surprise addition was Vaggie, who revealed capabilities she had kept hidden until now. I was an exorcist, she reminded them during planning sessions. I know how heaven's magic works, including the divine components used to make contracts binding. If we are going to break those bindings, we need someone who understands the angelic side of the equation. Carmilla contributed resources and intelligence, though she made clear she could not be directly involved. My position requires maintaining certain appearances, she explained. But I can provide you with tools and information that will help. The most crucial piece came from Rosie, who had connections throughout Hell's oldest districts. There is a place, she told them during a secret meeting. The contract vault. It is where the original templates for all soul contracts are stored. The magical matrices that define how contracts function. Her expression was serious. If you could access those templates and alter them, you could theoretically change the fundamental nature of contracts throughout Hell. But the vault is located in the deepest part of the Pride Ring, protected by ancient magic and guarded by entities older than most overlords. How do we get access? Naruto asked. You do not, Rosie said bluntly. The vault is designed to be impenetrable. Only Lucifer himself has legitimate access, and even he needs to follow specific protocols. Alastor's grin widened. How fortunate then that we have the king's daughter on our team. Royal blood might provide access that others would be denied. It is not that simple, Charlie protested. My father's authority comes with responsibilities. I cannot just use his power to break into secured facilities. Even if those facilities maintain a system that enslaves millions of souls, Naruto asked quietly. Charlie struggled with the moral calculus, her idealism warring with her sense of duty and filial obligation. Finally, she nodded. "You are right. This is bigger than protocol or my father's approval. If we can free the contracted souls, we have to try." The planning phase took another week, every detail scrutinized and backup plans developed for likely complications. They studied maps of the lower Pride Ring, identified guard patterns and magical defenses, and gathered tools that might help bypass the vault's protections. This Pentious, not part of the core team but aware something significant was being planned, contributed specialized equipment. Magical dampeners to hide their presence, tools for bypassing wards, communication devices that worked even in areas with heavy interference. The night before the operation, Naruto found himself unable to sleep. Too much could go wrong. The vault might be more heavily defended than their intelligence suggested. The magical working required to alter the contract templates might be beyond their capabilities. Heaven might intervene if they detected what was happening. And even if they succeeded, the consequences would be catastrophic for Hell's existing power structure. Every overlord who had built an empire on contracted souls would lose their power base overnight. The resulting chaos could destabilize reality itself. Charlie appeared in his doorway, clearly unable to sleep for similar reasons. "We are really doing this. We are really doing this," Naruto confirmed. She entered and settled beside him on the bed, seeking and offering comfort simultaneously. "My father is going to be furious. When he finds out we used royal authority to break into the contract vault and fundamentally altered Hell's economic system, he will probably try to stop us. Then we will have to work fast," Naruto said. "Get in, make the changes, get out before anyone realizes what happened. And then deal with the consequences," Charlie added. "And then deal with the consequences," Naruto agreed. They sat together in comfortable silence, both processing the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Finally, Charlie spoke again, her voice soft. "I love you. I need you to know that before we do this. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever consequences come from this, I love you, and I am grateful you are willing to risk everything for something you believe in." Naruto pulled her close, feeling the warmth of her against him. "I love you too. You have given me purpose in Hell, shown me that even here, even after death, I can still make a difference. I would risk anything for that." They held each other through the night, drawing strength from their connection. When morning arrived, both were ready to face whatever came next. The team assembled in a hidden chamber beneath the hotel, a space Miss Pentious had constructed specifically for covert operations. Naruto, Charlie, Alastor, and Vaggie stood in a circle, reviewing the plan one final time. "We enter through the old transit tunnels," Vaggie began, pointing to a map. "They connect to maintenance passages near the vault's lower levels. Guards are lighter there because most threats come from above. Once inside, Charlie's royal blood should allow us to approach the vault entrance," Alastor continued. "But the real challenge is the guardian entity. Ancient record suggested is powerful enough to have killed several overlords who attempted unauthorized access. I will handle the guardian," Naruto said with confidence he hoped he actually felt. "You all focus on getting to the contract templates." Charlie added the final piece. "Once we access the templates, I will need approximately 15 minutes to perform the magical working. The change has to be precise, weakening the binding magic enough to make contracts breakable without destroying the template structures entirely." "What happens if we are detected before the changes take effect?" Vaggie asked. "Then we fight our way out and hope we can finish the working before being overwhelmed," Naruto replied honestly. The journey through the transit tunnels was tense and claustrophobic. These passages had not been used in decades, and the air was thick with dust and the weight of ancient magic. Strange sounds echoed through the darkness, reminders that the deepest parts of Hell housed entities best left undisturbed. After nearly an hour of careful navigation, they reached the maintenance passages Vaggie had identified. The air here felt different, charged with power that made Naruto's demonic senses tingle with warning. "We are close," Charlie whispered. "I can feel the vault's presence. It is like a weight pressing down on reality itself." They emerged into a massive chamber carved from black stone that seemed to absorb light. In the center stood a door of impossible size, easily 100 feet tall, covered in seals and wards that pulsed with power. Before the door stood the Guardian. The entity was difficult to look at directly, its form shifting and changing as if existing in multiple states simultaneously. When Naruto focused, he saw elements of demon, angel, and something else entirely, something that predated the division between heaven and hell. "Who dares approach the contract vault?" The Guardian's voice resonated directly in their minds, bypassing their ears entirely. "Speak your purpose or be destroyed." Charlie stepped forward, her royal aura manifesting as visible golden light. "I am Charlotte Morningstar, daughter of Lucifer, princess of hell. I claim right of royal access to the vault." The Guardian examined her with senses beyond normal vision. "Royal blood confirmed. But your companions are not authorized. Only those of the royal line may enter." They are my retinue, acting under my authority, Charlie argued, her voice steady despite the fear Naruto could sense beneath her calm exterior. The Guardian seemed to consider this, its shifting form coalescing into something more defined and threatening. The princess may enter. The others remain here. This is not negotiable. Then we have a problem, Naruto said, activating his demon sage mode. Because we are all going in together. What followed was one of the most difficult battles Naruto had ever experienced. The Guardian was not just powerful but operated on different rules than normal combat. It could exist in multiple places simultaneously, attack from angles that should not exist, and seemed immune to conventional damage. Naruto deployed every technique in his arsenal. Shadow clones created overwhelming numbers but were dispelled almost instantly by the Guardian's attacks. Rasengan variant struck with devastating force, but the Guardian simply reformed around the damage. Even his tailed beast enhanced abilities, drawing on power from across dimensions, barely affected the ancient entity. Alastor joined the fight, his overlord level power creating tentacles of shadow and manifestations of radiostatic that actually seemed to trouble the Guardian. But even combined, they were only delaying the inevitable. Charlie, go, Naruto shouted, blocking an attack that would have struck her. We will hold it off. Get to the templates. I am not leaving you, Charlie protested. You have to, Vaggie added, her angelic spear drawing actual blood from the Guardian for the first time. This is what we planned. You are the only one who can alter the templates. We will buy you time. Charlie looked torn, but she understood the logic. With a final glance at Naruto, she sprinted toward the massive door. Her royal authority caused the seals to recognize her, and the door began to open with a sound like reality tearing. The Guardian, realizing what was happening, abandoned its engagement with the fighters and turned toward Charlie. But Naruto was faster, appearing between them with his body flicker technique. You want to get to her, you go through me first, Naruto declared, his full transformation activating. Golden and crimson energy erupted around him as he accessed the combined power of all 9 tailed beasts, his form becoming something that existed between demon, ninja, and divine beast. The clash that followed lit up the ancient chamber with impossible colors. Naruto fought with everything he had, not trying to defeat the Guardian, but simply to delay it long enough for Charlie to complete her work. Inside the vault, Charlie found herself in a space that should not exist. The chamber extended infinitely in all directions, walls lined with crystalline structures that each contained the magical matrix for a different type of contract. Millions of templates, representing every soul agreement made throughout Hell's history. She moved to the central column, where the master template resided. This was the source code for all contracts, the fundamental magical construct that defined how soul bindings functioned. Altering it would change every contract simultaneously. Charlie began the working, channeling her royal power and her mother's demonic magic in equal measure. The spell was complex, requiring precision and power in perfect balance. Too much force and she would destroy the template entirely, creating magical backlash that could kill her. Too little and the changes would not take hold. Outside, Naruto was reaching his limits. The Guardian's attacks were relentless, and even his enhanced healing could not keep up with the damage accumulating. Alastor and Vaggie fought alongside him, but all 3 were being worn down. Then, just when Naruto thought they could not hold out any longer, he felt it. A shift in the fundamental fabric of Hell's magic. Charlie had succeeded. Throughout Hell, in every district and domain, every overlord and contracted soul felt the change simultaneously. The iron bindings of soul contracts weakened, becoming breakable through sufficient will and effort. The magic that made contracts absolute and inescapable was still present, but no longer omnipotent. The Guardian froze, its form fluctuating wildly as it processed what had just occurred. You have altered the foundation templates. This is forbidden. This is catastrophic. This is necessary, Charlie said, emerging from the vault. Contracts will still exist, still have power. But they can be broken now. Souls have the option to free themselves if they are willing to pay the price. The price will be high, the Guardian warned. Breaking a contract damages the soul. Many will destroy themselves attempting it. That is their choice to make, Naruto said, still maintaining his transformation despite his exhaustion. Better to have the option and risk failure than be enslaved with no hope of freedom. The Guardian seemed to deflate, its purpose suddenly uncertain. I was created to protect the absolute nature of contracts. If contracts are no longer absolute, what is my purpose? Find a new one, Vaggie suggested. Protect the templates from destruction rather than from modification. Ensure contracts function fairly rather than absolutely. For a long moment, the Guardian was motionless. Then, slowly, it moved aside. You have done something unprecedented. The consequences will be far-reaching. Go, before I am compelled to attempt stopping you despite my doubt. They did not need to be told twice. The team fled through the maintenance passages and back through the transit tunnels, racing against the inevitable response when Hell's power structure realized what had been done. They emerged near the hotel as dawn was breaking over Pentagram City. Throughout the city, chaos was already beginning. Demons under contract were testing their bindings, finding them weakened. Overlords were discovering their absolute control had become conditional. And in the entertainment district, Valentino was screaming with rage as he felt his empire crumbling. Angel Dust stood in his dressing room at the studio, staring at his hands in disbelief. The contract mark that had burned on his wrist for decades was flickering, becoming translucent. For the first time since his damnation, he felt the possibility of freedom. He focused his will, pushing against the binding that had held him for so long. Pain erupted through his entire being, his soul straining against magical chains that were weakened but not broken. He screamed, falling to his knees, but he did not stop pushing. And then, with a sound like crystal shattering, the contract broke. Angel collapsed, gasping for breath, feeling fundamentally changed. Part of his soul was damaged, burned by the effort of breaking free. But he was free. Actually, genuinely free. Similar scenes played out across hell. Some demons succeeded in breaking their contracts, paying the price in soul damage, but achieving freedom. Others tried and failed, the cost too high for their will to bear. A few died in the attempt, their souls fragmenting completely. But the fact that it was possible, that contracts could be broken, changed everything. The Overlord's response was immediate and furious. Emergency council sessions were called. Armies were mobilized. And Valentino, backed by the V's and several other entertainment district overlords, marched on the Hazbin Hotel with a force that dwarfed their previous attack. But this time, they did not come alone. Freed demons rallied to the hotel's defense, souls who had just broken their contracts, unwilling to let the overlords reclaim their power. The battle that erupted was the largest hell had seen in centuries. Naruto stood at the front line, exhausted but determined. Beside him were Charlie, Vaggie, Alastor, and Angel, who had arrived just as the overlord's forces appeared. "Thanks for the freedom," Angel said to Naruto, his usual sarcasm missing. "Now let us make sure it sticks." The war for Hell's future had begun in earnest. And this time, the outcome would reshape reality itself. The battle that erupted outside the Hazbin Hotel was unlike anything Pentagram City had witnessed in its long, violent history. This was not a simple territorial dispute between rival overlords or a power grab by ambitious demons. This was a fundamental clash of ideologies, a war that would determine whether Hell remained a realm of eternal enslavement or transformed into something offering the possibility of redemption and freedom. Valentino led the assault personally, his moth-like form towering over the battlefield as he coordinated his forces with military precision. Behind him came not just his own contracted souls, those few who had not yet broken free, but mercenaries hired from across the Pride Ring, demons loyal to the old system, who feared what widespread freedom would mean for Hell's established order. The V's stood united for perhaps the first time since their alliance formed. Vox's technological abilities turned the battlefield into a surveillance nightmare, drones and cameras capturing every angle, while his electromagnetic manipulation disrupted the hotel's defensive systems. Lilith commanded a division of social media influencer demons who broadcast the battle live, spinning the narrative to portray the hotel as dangerous revolutionaries, threatening Hell's stability. But the hotel's defenders were not alone either. Freed demons arrived in waves, souls who had just broken their contracts and refused to see that freedom stolen away. They were damaged, many bearing the spiritual wounds that came from shattering magical bindings, but they were motivated by something more powerful than self-preservation. They were fighting for the right to choose their own destinies. Naruto stood at the forefront, his transformation into the tailed beast enhanced demon sage mode, making him a beacon of golden and crimson light amid the chaos. Shadow clones spread across the battlefield in the hundreds, each one engaging multiple opponents, while the original coordinated defense and protected vulnerable points in their formation. Beside him, Charlie fought in her full demonic form, her royal power manifesting as torrents of hellfire that carved trenches in the street and sent attackers scattering. But even as she fought, Naruto could see her holding back, unwilling to kill even enemies who sought her destruction. It was admirable and frustrating in equal measure. "Charlie, you need to stop pulling your punches," Vaggie shouted, her angelic spear cutting through 3 demons in a single sweep. "These people are trying to kill us and undo everything we've accomplished." "They're still souls who deserve a chance at redemption," Charlie replied, her voice strained as she redirected a massive attack away from a cluster of defenders. "I won't become a murderer just to win a battle." Alastor's laugh echoed across the battlefield, his form shifting into something monster sent terrible as he unleashed his full overlord-level power. Tentacles of shadow erupted from the ground, grabbing demons and flinging them away with bone-crushing force. His radiostatic interference created zones of confusion where Vox's technology failed completely. "How delightfully principled, dear Princess," Alastor called out, his voice carrying over the sounds of battle. "But do remember that we are fighting for survival, not moral superiority." Angel Dust fought with a fury that surprised everyone who knew him. No longer constrained by Valentino's contract, he wielded multiple weapons with his various arms, moving through the battlefield like a dancer of death. When he encountered demons who still served Valentino willingly, his attacks were merciless. You had the chance to break free, Angel snarled at one such demon, his fist connecting with devastating force. You chose to stay enslaved. That's on you. The battle raged for hours, neither side gaining decisive advantage. The overlords had superior numbers and resources, but the hotel's defenders fought with the desperation of people protecting their last hope. Buildings crumbled, the street was torn apart, and the sky itself seemed to crack under the force of power being thrown around. Then the situation escalated dramatically. The portal of searing light tore open in the sky above the battlefield, and through it descended a force that made everyone freeze in recognition and terror. Angels. Not just any angels, but a full combat division of heaven's exorcists, warriors whose sole purpose was eliminating demons deemed too dangerous to exist. At their head was a figure Vaggie recognized immediately, her face going pale with fear and something more complicated. Lut, the exorcist commander, descended with wings of pure white light spread wide, her expression cold and merciless. By order of Heaven's High Council, Lut's voice carried with divine authority, this conflict is deemed a threat to cosmic order. All combatants will cease hostilities immediately or face divine judgment. For a moment, there was silence. Then Valentino, recognizing an opportunity, pointed dramatically at the hotel. These demons have violated hell's fundamental laws, he shouted. They've destroyed the contract system, freed dangerous souls, and threatened the balance between heaven and hell. They're the ones who should face judgment. Lut's gaze swept over the battlefield before settling on the hotel and its defenders. Her expression showed no recognition of Vaggie, no acknowledgement of their shared past. When she spoke, her voice was ice. The allegations have merit. Charlie Morningstar, Naruto Uzumaki, you are summoned to account for your actions before Heaven's tribunal. Surrender peacefully, or we will take you by force. We're not going anywhere, Naruto said firmly, stepping forward despite his exhaustion. We didn't break any of Heaven's laws. We freed slaves. If Heaven has a problem with that, then Heaven's laws need examining. Lut's expression hardened. You presume to judge Heaven's wisdom. You, a demon barely months old in hell, dare to question millennia of divine law. I dare to question any law that keeps people enslaved, Naruto shot back. I've seen what happens when systems go unchallenged, when authority demands obedience without justification. It leads to suffering and injustice. If Heaven supports that, then Heaven is wrong. The declaration sent shockwaves through both armies. Demons and exorcists alike stared in disbelief at this demon who had just openly challenged Heaven's authority. Charlie placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, stepping forward to stand beside him. We're not trying to destroy cosmic order. We're trying to evolve it. The contract system was cruel and unjust. We've proven that redemption is possible, that souls can change. Why should those souls remain enslaved to agreements they made in desperation? Lut's expression remained unmoved. Because order demands stability. Because free will must have consequences. Because without eternal damnation, Heaven's promise of salvation loses meaning. That's fear talking, not justice, Vaggie interjected, her voice carrying clearly despite the tension. I was an exorcist. I know how Heaven operates. And I know that this policy, opposing redemption and supporting the contract system, it's not about divine law. It's about maintaining power and control. Lut's gaze finally acknowledged Vaggie, and the contempt was unmistakable. A fallen exorcist. How appropriate that you would side with rebels and revolutionaries. You betrayed Heaven once. Why should your words carry any weight now? Because I learned something you apparently haven't, Vaggie replied, her grip tightening on her spear. That blindly following orders doesn't make you righteous. That authority has to be questioned when it demands cruelty. That love and compassion matter more than maintaining the status quo. The confrontation was interrupted by a new arrival that made even Lut pause. Another portal opened, but this one was dark and pulsing with infernal power. Through it stepped Lucifer himself, his presence immediately dominating the battlefield. That's enough, the King of Hell's voice carried absolute authority. Lut, you and your exorcists will stand down immediately. This is Hell's territory, and you have no jurisdiction here. The exorcist commander didn't back down, though her hand moved to her weapon. The High Council authorized this intervention. Your territory's internal conflicts have threatened cosmic balance. And I'm telling you that balance is just another word for stagnation, Lucifer replied, moving to stand between the angels and his daughter. What Charlie and Naruto did was revolutionary, yes. Disruptive, absolutely. But it was also necessary. The contract system had become slavery in all but name. They corrected an injustice that I should have addressed millennia ago. He turned to face his daughter, his expression complex. I'm furious with you for doing this without my knowledge or consent. The way you went about it was reckless and could have had catastrophic consequences. Charlie's face fell, but Lucifer continued. But I'm also proud. You had the courage to do what I couldn't. You challenged a system I helped create because you saw it was wrong. That takes strength I didn't know you possessed. Lucifer turned back to Lud and the assembled exorcists. My daughter and her allies broke no divine laws. They modified Hell's internal systems, which is within the royal prerogative. If heaven has concerns about how Hell is governed, the proper channel is diplomatic discussion, not military intervention. The High Council will not accept this precedent, Lud warned. You're allowing demons to escape their rightful punishment. That undermines everything heaven stands for. Then perhaps it's time for heaven to stand for something better, Lucifer replied. My daughter has proven that redemption is real. 3 souls have already ascended, transformed completely from corrupted demons into pure angels. Doesn't that suggest that your absolute condemnation might be flawed? Lud looked torn between her orders and the logic of his argument. Finally, she made a decision. This discussion is above my authority. I'm withdrawing my forces, but the High Council would respond. This isn't over, Lucifer. The exorcists departed through their portal, leaving behind a battlefield that was suddenly very quiet. The overlords' forces, having lost their angelic backup and facing Lucifer's personal intervention, were reassessing their position. Valentino stepped forward, his form radiating barely controlled rage. You're defending this chaos. Your own daughter destroyed the economic system that keeps Hell functioning. Thousands of contracts have been broken. The entire power structure is collapsing. But Lucifer said simply. A power structure built on slavery deserves to collapse. Find a new business model, Valentino. One that doesn't require owning souls. This isn't over, Valentino snarled, but he was already signaling retreat. His forces withdrew, the other overlords following suit. Within minutes, the battlefield was clearing, leaving only the hotel's defenders and the freed demons who had rallied to their cause. As the adrenaline faded, Naruto felt his transformation faltering. He had pushed himself far beyond safe limits, drawing on power sources that weren't meant to be accessed simultaneously. He stumbled, his vision blurring. Charlie caught him before he fell, her arm supporting his weight. I've got you. It's over. We won. Did we? Naruto asked, his voice weak. Heaven's going to respond. The overlords are going to regroup. This might just be the beginning. Then we'll face it together, Charlie said firmly. But right now, you need rest. You've done enough for one day. The next few days brought a flood of activity that tested the hotel's infrastructure to its breaking point. Demons who had broken their contracts needed medical attention for soul damage. Freed slaves required housing, food, and psychological support. The satellite facilities were overwhelmed with new arrivals seeking redemption, now that it seemed genuinely achievable. Naruto spent the first 2 days recovering in bed, his body and soul both needing time to heal from the strain of the battle. Charlie rarely left his side, managing hotel operations from his room while ensuring he actually rested. The healers say you did permanent damage to your chakra network, Charlie said during one of their quiet moments together. Drawing on all 9-tailed beasts simultaneously from across dimensional barriers while maintaining your demon sage mode transformation. It's a miracle you survived. I've done stupider things, Naruto replied with a weak grin. This one at least accomplished something important. Charlie took his hand gently. You saved us. If you hadn't held off that guardian, I never would have reached the contract templates. And your fight during the battle, you protected hundreds of people. But Naruto, you can't keep sacrificing yourself like this. We need you alive and healthy, not burned out from constant overextension. I know, Naruto admitted. But in the moment, when people need protecting, I can't just hold back. It's not who I am. Then I'm going to have to protect you from yourself, Charlie said with determination. You're too important to lose to your own heroic tendencies. Their moment was interrupted by a knock on the door. Angel Dust entered, looking different than Naruto had ever seen him. The spider demon's usual flamboyant confidence was replaced with something more genuine, more vulnerable. Hey, golden boy. Got a minute? For you, always, Naruto replied, gesturing him in. Angel settled into a chair, his multiple hands fidgeting nervously. I wanted to thank you. Properly, I mean. What you did, breaking the contract system, you gave me something I thought I'd never have again. Choice. Freedom. He looked down at his hands, at the wrist where Valentino's contract mark had once burned. I'm damaged. The healers say my soul's got scars that'll never fully heal. But I'm free, Naruto. After decades of being owned, of being treated like property, I get to decide who I am and what I do. That's worth any amount of damage. What are you going to do now? Charlie asked gently. Angel's expression became thoughtful. I'm staying here. At the hotel, I mean. Not as someone hiding from Valentino or trying to escape my past. But as someone genuinely pursuing redemption. Because I want to, not because someone's making me. He looked at Naruto directly. You showed me that change is possible. That we don't have to be defined by our worst moments forever. I want to prove I can be redeemed even after everything I've done. You will be, Naruto said with confidence. You're already further along than you realize. The angel dust I met months ago wouldn't have fought the way you did in that battle. wouldn't have helped others before protecting himself. You're changing, whether you recognize it or not. After Angel left, Charlie curled up beside Naruto on the bed, her head resting on his shoulder. We've accomplished something remarkable. Broken a system that's existed for millennia. Given thousands of souls the possibility of freedom. But, Naruto prompted, hearing the unspoken concern in her voice. But the consequences are just beginning, Charlie said quietly. Heaven's going to retaliate somehow. The overlords aren't going to simply accept their power diminishing. My mother's going to have opinions about us fundamentally altering hell's structure without consulting her. And we still have to prove that the freed demons can actually achieve redemption, that breaking contracts was worth the chaos it's caused. One problem at a time, Naruto suggested. We deal with each challenge as it comes. Right now, let's focus on helping the freed demons stabilize and supporting those pursuing redemption. The response from heaven came sooner than expected. Emily arrived 3 days after the battle, her expression troubled as she met with Charlie and Naruto in the hotel's main office. The High Council is furious, Emily explained without preamble. They see the contract breaking as a direct challenge to divine authority. Some are calling for punitive measures against Hell. What kind of punitive measures? Naruto asked, immediately alert despite his still healing condition. Nothing's been decided yet, Emily assured them quickly. But there's talk of closing heaven to any redemption attempts from Hell. Of declaring that souls who break contracts have forfeited their right to salvation. Of tightening the criteria for redemption so drastically that it becomes effectively impossible. Charlie looked devastated. But we've proven redemption works. 4 souls have ascended. How can they justify preventing others from achieving the same transformation? By claiming that the contract breaking demonstrated insufficient respect for divine law and cosmic order, Emily said, her voice heavy with frustration. The conservative faction is using this as ammunition to roll back all the progress we've made. That's bullshit, Naruto said flatly. Heaven's being petty because we challenge their authority. This isn't about cosmic order or divine law. It's about powerful beings not wanting to lose control. Emily nodded reluctantly. I agree, which is why I'm here. There are factions in heaven who support what you're doing. Angels who believe redemption should be accessible and that the contract system was unjust. But we're being drowned out by those who fear change. She pulled out a document, sliding it across the desk. This is a proposal I've been developing with some allies. A formal framework for redemption that addresses heaven's concerns while preserving the core principle that transformation is possible. Naruto and Charlie reviewed the document together. It was comprehensive, outlining specific criteria for redemption, protocols for assessment, and crucially, provisions that protected demons who had broken contracts from being automatically disqualified. This could work, Charlie said, her expression brightening. It gives heaven the structure and oversight they claim to want while still allowing genuine redemption. But I need your help to get it approved, Emily said. The High Council won't listen to me alone. But if we can demonstrate that Hell's leadership supports this framework, if we can show concrete examples of freed demons pursuing redemption successfully, it might be enough to sway the moderate faction. What do you need from us? Naruto asked. Success stories. Documented cases of demons who broke contracts and are now genuinely pursuing redemption. Data showing that the freed souls aren't descending into chaos but are actually trying to be better. And most importantly, at least one more full redemption. Someone who was contracted, broke free, and achieved complete transformation. The challenge was clear. They needed to prove that contract breaking hadn't just created chaos, but it actually enhanced redemption's viability. That the freed demons could achieve transformation, not despite their damaged souls, but because of their hard-won freedom. Over the following weeks, the hotel threw itself into this mission with renewed intensity. Freed demons were given intensive support, therapy and healing for their soul damage, combined with the existing redemption curriculum. Charlie personally oversaw the program, pouring her energy into helping those who had sacrificed so much for freedom. Angel became one of the program's most valuable assets. His own experience breaking free from Valentino's contract made him uniquely qualified to counsel others dealing with similar trauma. He ran support groups for freed souls, sharing his journey and helping them process the complex emotions that came with sudden liberation. It's weird, you know, Angel told one such group, his vulnerability on full display. You spend so long being owned that freedom is actually terrifying at first. You don't know who you are without someone telling you what to do. But that's also where the real work begins. Figuring out who you want to be, not who someone else made you. Naruto, once he was sufficiently recovered, resumed training sessions with a new focus. He worked with freed demons who had suffered soul damage, teaching them meditation and chakra control techniques adapted for their condition. The goal was helping them heal the wounds that contract breaking had inflicted, while also building the discipline needed for genuine redemption. One such demon was a young soul named Marcus, not the same Marcus who had been at the hotel previously, but a newer arrival who had broken free from a contract with one of the entertainment district overlords. The damage to his soul was severe, manifesting as chronic pain and difficulty controlling his demonic nature. "I don't know if I can do this," Marcus admitted during one particularly difficult training session. "The pain is constant. Every time I try to meditate or focus on being better, all I feel is the damage from breaking free." "Pain is part of transformation," Naruto said, drawing on his own experiences. "I've been broken and rebuilt more times than I can count. Each time, the healing hurt worse than the initial injury. But you know what? Each time I came back stronger, more capable, more myself." He placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "The damage you carry is proof that you chose freedom over comfort. That you valued your autonomy enough to pay a terrible price for it. That kind of choice, that kind of strength, is exactly what redemption requires. Use the pain as fuel, not as an excuse to give up." The breakthrough came 5 weeks after the battle. A demon named Sarah, who had been contracted to one of the Lust Ring's most powerful overlords, achieved complete redemption. Her ascension was particularly significant because she had suffered some of the worst soul damage the healers had seen, her contract breaking nearly fragmenting her completely. But through intensive work with Charlie, Angel, and Naruto, Sarah had not only healed but transformed. Her redemption assessment, conducted by Emily and witnessed by representatives from both Heaven and Hell's councils, showed complete purification. The damage from contract breaking had healed, replaced by spiritual strength that seemed to glow from within. When the golden light enveloped Sarah and her angelic wings manifested, the assembled witnesses could only stare in awe. This was proof that contract breaking didn't prevent redemption, but could actually enhance it, the struggle for freedom serving as a catalyst for genuine transformation. Emily immediately brought the documentation to Heaven's High Council, arguing for approval of her redemption framework with Sarah's case as the centerpiece. The debate lasted 3 days, Heaven's political factions arguing passionately on both sides. Meanwhile, Hell faced its own reckoning. Lilith returned from wherever she had been since the battle, and her response to the contract system's collapse was swift and unexpected. She called a gathering at Lucifer's palace, summoning all the major overlords, the hotel's leadership, and representatives from the freed demon communities. When everyone was assembled, she stood before them with an expression that was impossible to read. "My daughter challenged me to prove that redemption was possible," Lilith began, her voice carrying to every corner of the massive chamber. "She gave me a year to witness genuine transformation. Not only has she achieved that, but she's fundamentally altered Hell's nature in the process." She turned to face Charlie directly. "When I issued that challenge, I was confident you would fail. That redemption would prove impossible, and I could return to maintaining the status quo with a clear conscience. You've proven me wrong in the most spectacular way possible." Lilith's expression softened, showing genuine pride. "You've accomplished something I thought impossible. You've given Hell's damned souls hope, agency, and the possibility of transformation. I came here prepared to oppose you, to argue for restoring the contract system. But I can't. Not when I've seen what you've achieved." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Lilith, the Queen of Hell, was acknowledging that the revolutionaries had been right. "Therefore," Lilith continued, her voice cutting through the noise, "I'm officially endorsing the redemption program and the new contract framework. Contracts will still exist, but they will be agreements between equals, not tools of enslavement. Any contract can be broken through mutual consent or through the challenging process we've already witnessed." She looked at the assembled overlords. "Those of you who built empires on slave labor have a choice. Adapt your business models to this new reality, or fade into irrelevance. Hell is changing, and you can either change with it or be left behind." Valentino stood abruptly, his rage barely contained. "This is insanity. You're destroying everything Hell stands for. Chaos, suffering, eternal punishment, that's what we are." "That's what we were," Lucifer interjected, standing beside his wife in a show of united authority. "But maybe it's time Hell became something more. A place of transformation rather than just torment. A realm where souls face the consequences of their actions but also have the opportunity to learn and grow." The gathering dissolved into heated debate, but the die was cast. With both Lucifer and Lilith supporting the changes, opposition became politically untenable. The overlords could resist, but they couldn't reverse what had been done. In the days following the gathering, Emily returned with news from Heaven. The High Council had approved her redemption framework by a narrow margin. The vote was 7-6, with several angels abstaining, but it was enough. Redemption from Hell was now officially supported by both Heaven and Hell's leadership. The framework established clear criteria, regular assessments, and protections for demons pursuing redemption. Crucially, it included provisions stating that contract breaking, when done for the purpose of pursuing freedom and redemption, would not disqualify souls from salvation. Charlie cried when she heard the news, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they had accomplished. In less than 6 months, she had gone from running a small, mocked hotel to fundamentally changing the relationship between Heaven and Hell. Naruto held her as she processed everything, his own emotions complex. They had won, genuinely won, but the cost had been high and the consequences would ripple for years to come. "We did it," Charlie whispered. "We actually changed everything." "You did it," Naruto corrected gently. "This was your dream, your vision. I just helped make it happen." "We did it together," Charlie insisted, pulling back to look at him. "None of this would have been possible without you. Your strength, your determination, your refusal to accept injustice. You've transformed hell as much as I have." That evening, the hotel held a celebration that spilled out into the surrounding streets. Freed demons, hotel residents, and even some sympathetic overlords gathered to mark what was being called the liberation, the moment hell's social contract fundamentally changed. Music filled the air, actual music rather than the screams and wails that usually characterized hell's soundscape. Demons danced, laughed, and allowed themselves to hop in ways they had thought impossible. Naruto found himself on the hotel's roof again, his usual sanctuary. But this time he wasn't seeking solitude to process problems. He was simply enjoying the moment, watching hell transform before his eyes. Angel joined him, bringing 2 drinks. "Thought you might want company, golden boy. Or should I call you the contract breaker now? That's what they're calling you in the streets." Naruto accepted the drink with a laugh. "I prefer just Naruto. Titles are complicated." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the celebration below. Finally, Angel spoke, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "I've been thinking about my redemption. Really thinking about it, not just going through the motions. And I realized something. I don't know if I want to go to heaven." Naruto looked at him in surprise. "Why not? Redemption has always been the goal." "For Charlie, yeah. And for a lot of people here. But me?" Angel's expression was thoughtful. "I've spent my entire afterlife in hell. It's awful and beautiful and complicated, just like I am. Heaven sounds nice, but it also sounds boring. Perfect and pure and completely unlike who I am." He turned to face Naruto. "What if redemption doesn't have to mean leaving hell? What if it can mean being better here, choosing to be good in a place that encourages evil? That feels more meaningful to me than escaping to somewhere that makes being good easy." Naruto considered this perspective, finding wisdom in it he hadn't expected. "That's actually profound. Redemption is a choice you make every day, not just a destination you reach." "Look at me, being philosophical," Angel laughed. "But seriously, I think hell needs good people. If everyone who becomes better leaves, this place will never change. Maybe some of us need to stay, to be examples that transformation is possible even in darkness." Their conversation was interrupted by Charlie appearing at the roof access. "There you are. I should have known you'd both escape to up here." She joined them, settling between Naruto and Angel. "What are we talking about?" "The future," Naruto said. "What comes next now that we've accomplished the impossible?" Charlie leaned against Naruto, her expression content. "More redemptions. Helping the freed demons heal and transform. Building on what we've started until hell really does become a place of rehabilitation rather than just punishment. And dealing with whatever heaven throws at us next," Angel added. "Because you know they're not really done opposing this, even with the framework approved. And the overlords who still hate us," Naruto continued. "Valentino's not going to forgive or forget what we did to his empire. And my mother deciding she wants to be more involved in hotel operations," Charlie sighed. "She's already sending suggestions about curriculum improvements." They all laughed, the sound carrying across the rooftop. The challenges ahead were real and significant, but for the first time, they felt manageable. They had already achieved the impossible. Whatever came next, they would face it together. As the celebration continued below and hell's red sky slowly darkened to deeper crimson, Naruto reflected on his journey. He had died in one world and been reborn in hell itself. He had found purpose, love, and a cause worth fighting for in the last place anyone would expect. His ninja way had followed him even into death, transforming from a personal code into a movement that was reshaping reality itself. And this, Naruto thought as he held Charlie close and watched their impossible dream becoming reality, was just the beginning. Hell would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be. 3 months after the liberation, as the event had come to be known throughout hell, the Hazbin Hotel had transformed from a controversial experiment into a thriving institution. The main building had been expanded twice, now capable of housing over 200 residents comfortably. 5 satellite facilities operated across the Pride Ring, each specializing in different aspects of redemption and rehabilitation. And most significantly, 17 demons had achieved full redemption and ascended to heaven since Molly's initial breakthrough. But success, as Naruto was learning, brought its own complications. The morning began like most others. Naruto woke early, his body clock still adhering to the training schedule he had maintained since his ninja days. Charlie lay beside him, her blonde hair spread across the pillow, her expression peaceful in sleep. They had been sharing a room officially for the past month, their relationship having evolved naturally from partnership to something deeper and more intimate. He carefully extracted himself from the bed, not wanting to wake her. Charlie had been working herself to exhaustion lately, the demands of managing the redemption program's expansion, leaving her with barely enough time to sleep. She needed every minute of rest she could get. Naruto made his way to the roof, where the familiar routine of training awaited. His body had mostly recovered from the damage sustained during the battle, though the healers warned that he would always carry some scarring in his chakra network. Drawing on all nine-tailed beasts simultaneously had been reckless, even by his standards. But he was alive, and that was what mattered. He had just begun his warm-up exercises when he felt a presence approaching. Not threatening, but powerful enough to immediately put him on alert. Naruto turned to find Emily descending from the sky, her 6 wings spread wide, but her expression was troubled in a way he had never seen before. "Emily? What's wrong?" The angel landed gracefully, her usual warm smile absent. "Naruto, I need to speak with you and Charlie immediately. Heaven's High Council has issued a summons." The word sent ice through Naruto's veins. A summons? For what? "To answer charges of cosmic interference and unauthorized reality manipulation," Emily said, her voice heavy with concern. "The conservative faction has been building a case against you both since the liberation. They've convinced enough moderate angels that what you did breaking the contract system constitutes a threat to divine order." "That's ridiculous," Naruto said, anger rising. "We freed slaves. How is that a threat to anything except unjust power?" "I agree with you," Emily said quickly. "But the council sees it differently. They argue that the contract system, regardless of its moral implications, was part of Hell's fundamental structure. By altering it without Heaven's authorization, you disrupted the balance between realms." Naruto ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "When is this tribunal supposed to happen?" 3 days from now. Both you and Charlie are required to appear before the full High Council to answer the charges. If you refuse, Heaven will declare you in contempt of divine authority, which carries severe consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Naruto asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Emily's expression became grave. "Excommunication from the possibility of redemption. Any demon who achieves transformation would be barred from heaven if they were connected to the hotel in any way. It would effectively end the redemption program." The threat was clear and devastating. Heaven couldn't undo the liberation or restore the contract system, but they could make redemption inaccessible for anyone associated with the hotel. It was a political maneuver designed to force compliance through hostage-taking. "We need to tell Charlie," Naruto said, already moving toward the roof access. They found Charlie in her office, already awake despite the early hour and surrounded by paperwork. She looked up as they entered, her expression immediately shifting to concern when she saw Emily's troubled face. "What's happened?" Emily explained the situation again, and Naruto watched as Charlie processed the information. Her expression cycled through shock, anger, and finally resigned determination. "So if we don't appear, everyone we've helped is punished. But if we do appear, we're essentially putting ourselves at Heaven's mercy." Charlie's voice was steady despite the fear Naruto could sense beneath it. "The tribunal is supposed to be fair," Emily offered, though her tone suggested she didn't entirely believe it. "Both sides present their case, evidence is examined, and the council votes. I'll be there to speak in your defense, and I've been rallying support among the more progressive angels." "But you said the conservative faction has been building their case for months," Naruto pointed out. "They wouldn't call a tribunal unless they were confident of winning." "You're right," Emily admitted. "They have witnesses prepared, documentation of every instance where the contract breaking caused problems, and theological arguments about the sanctity of cosmic law. We're walking into this at a disadvantage." Charlie stood, her demonic form flickering briefly before she forced it back under control. "Then we prepare the best case we can. We gather evidence of all the good the liberation has accomplished. We bring witnesses who can testify to how redemption has transformed lives. We make it impossible for them to deny the positive impact of what we've done." Over the next 3 days, the hotel became a hub of frantic preparation. Charlie and Vaggie compiled documentation of every successful redemption, every freed demon who had gone on to pursue transformation, every instance where the new system had worked better than the old. Alastor, surprisingly, contributed his own resources. "I may find amusement in chaos," the radio demon explained, "but I also appreciate when that chaos produces genuine improvement. Your little revolution has made hell more interesting and, dare I say, slightly less terrible. I have no desire to see it undone by Heaven's bureaucratic pettiness." He provided testimony from demons across the Pride Ring, souls who spoke about how the liberation had given them hope and purpose. Some were pursuing redemption actively, others simply appreciated having agency over their own lives for the first time in their damnation. Angel worked tirelessly to gather statements from freed demons who had been under particularly cruel contracts. Their testimonies were harrowing stories of abuse, exploitation, and degradation that made even hardened demons uncomfortable to hear. But they were also powerful evidence that the contract system had been fundamentally broken. Carmilla offered legal expertise, helping them craft arguments that would resonate with heaven's legalistic mindset. Angels love procedure and precedent, she explained during one strategy session. You need to frame your actions not as revolutionary upheaval, but as legitimate reform within established authority. Lucifer and Lilith both offered to testify on Charlie's behalf, their united support of the liberation carrying significant political weight. But Charlie was hesitant about involving them too directly. If my parents have to defend me, it makes me look weak, she said during a private conversation with Naruto. Like I can't stand on my own principles and actions. I need to face this myself. Not yourself, Naruto corrected gently. We face this together. That's what partners do. The night before the tribunal, neither Naruto nor Charlie could sleep. They lay in bed together, holding each other, trying to find comfort in physical closeness, even as their minds raced with anxiety about what tomorrow would bring. What if they find us guilty? Charlie whispered into the darkness. What if everything we've built gets destroyed because we dared to challenge the system? Then we rebuild, Naruto replied with more confidence than he felt. We've already proven redemption is real. Heaven can make it harder to access, but they can't make it impossible again. The cat's out of the bag, so to speak. Charlie shifted to look at him, her eyes reflecting the dim light filtering through the window. You're not scared. I'm terrified, Naruto admitted honestly. But I've learned that fear is just another challenge to overcome. We've faced impossible odds before and won. We'll do it again. I love you, Charlie said suddenly, the words carrying weight beyond their simple meaning. Whatever happens tomorrow, I need you to know that. You've given me the strength to fight for what's right, even when it seemed hopeless. You've made me better. Naruto pulled her closer, emotion tightening his throat. I love you too. And whatever the tribunal decides, we'll face it together. That's a promise. They held each other through the night, drawing strength from their bond, preparing mentally for the battle ahead. Morning arrived too quickly. Emily appeared at dawn, her expression grave but determined. It's time. The portal to Heaven's tribunal chamber will open in 1 hour. You'll want to dress formally. First impressions matter to the High Council. Charlie wore a gown that somehow balanced her usual cheerful aesthetic with a gravitas the occasion demanded. It was primarily red and white, the colors of her family, but designed in a style that suggested authority and competence rather than rebellious princess. Her hair was styled elegantly, and she wore minimal jewelry aside from a pendant her mother had given her. Naruto had no formal attire from his previous life, so Carmilla had provided something appropriate. The outfit was part suit, part combat gear, designed to look professional, while allowing full range of movement if things went badly. It was primarily black with gold accents that complemented his demonic coloring. You both look ready to face divine judgment, Alastor observed with his characteristic grin. How appropriately dramatic. The core hotel staff gathered to see them off. Angel hugged Charlie tightly, his usual flirtatiousness replaced with genuine concern. You kick their angelic asses with logic and compassion, got it? Vaggie embraced both of them, her voice fierce. Don't let them intimidate you. You did the right thing, and you need to make them see that. Usk offered a rare moment of sincerity. Good luck, kids. Try not to get smited. Even Nifty contributed, presenting them with a small charm she had made. For good luck. I cleaned it 17 times to make sure it was perfect. Finally, Lucifer and Lilith appeared. The king and queen of hell stood before their daughter, their expressions complex mixtures of pride, concern, and love. Remember who you are, Lucifer said quietly. Not just my daughter, but someone who had the courage to challenge injustice even when it meant defying both heaven and hell. That strength will serve you well today. Lilith added her own advice. Angels respect conviction and principle. Don't apologize for what you did or try to minimize it. Own your actions completely and defend them with everything you have. The portal opened precisely on schedule, a gateway of pure golden light that led to heaven itself. Naruto and Charlie exchanged one last look, squeezed each other's hands, and stepped through together. The transition was disorienting. One moment they stood in hell's familiar crimson atmosphere, the next they were surrounded by radiance so bright it was almost painful. As Naruto's eyes adjusted, he found himself standing in a massive chamber that could only be described as architecturally divine. The tribunal chamber was circular, with walls that seemed to be made of crystallized light. The ceiling arched impossibly high, displaying what looked like the cosmos itself rotating slowly overhead. And arrayed in a semicircle before them were 13 thrones, each occupied by a seraphim of heaven's high council. The angels were imposing in ways that transcended simple physical presence. Each radiated power and authority that made even hell's strongest overlords seem diminished by comparison. Their forms were both beautiful and terrible, beings that existed partially outside normal reality. At the center throne sat an angel Naruto recognized from descriptions. Michael, the supreme commander of heaven's forces and arguably the most powerful being in creation, aside from God himself. His expression was stern and unreadable as he surveyed the two demons who had been summoned to answer charges. Charlie Morningstar, Princess of Hell. Naruto Uzumaki, demon of unknown origin. Michael's voice carried absolute authority. You have been summoned before this High Council to answer charges of cosmic interference, unauthorized reality manipulation, and disruption of divine order. How do you plead? Charlie stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. Not guilty, Your Eminence. We did nothing wrong. The chamber filled with murmurs from the assembled angels. Several looked shocked that a demon would claim innocence so boldly. Michael raised a hand, and silence fell immediately. Very well. The prosecution will present its case first, followed by the defense. Tribunal protocol will be observed strictly. Counselors Zadkiel, you may proceed. An angel Naruto hadn't noticed before stood from a side bench. Zadkiel was tall and lean, with features that suggested sharp intelligence. When he spoke, his voice carried the practiced cadence of an experienced lawyer. Honored counsel, I will demonstrate that the accused, through deliberate and coordinated action, fundamentally altered Hell's contract system without authorization from any legitimate authority. This alteration disrupted cosmic balance, violated established protocols between realms, and created chaos throughout the infernal dimension. What followed was a meticulously prepared prosecution that clearly represented months of work. Zadkiel called witnesses who testified about the confusion and disorder that followed the liberation. Overlords who had lost contracted souls, demons who had been injured attempting to break contracts they weren't ready to escape, economic disruptions as Hell's power structures shifted. The testimony was damning, painting the liberation as a reckless act that prioritized ideology over stability. Zadkiel presented charts showing the increase in violence immediately following the contract system's alteration, documentation of demons who had died attempting to break free, and testimony from angels who argued that the whole situation had created unprecedented complications in managing the balance between heaven and hell. Naruto watched the presentation with growing frustration. Everything Zadkiel said was technically true, but stripped of context in ways that completely distorted the reality. Yes, there had been chaos, but that chaos came from overthrowing an unjust system. Yes, some demons had died trying to break contracts, but they died pursuing freedom rather than living as slaves. Finally, after nearly 3 hours of prosecution testimony, Michael called for a recess. The council would deliberate on what they had heard before the defense presented its case. Emily found them in an antechamber, her expression worried. That went worse than I hoped. Zadkiel is very good at his job, and he's framing everything in the most damaging possible light. Everything he said was misleading, Charlie protested. He's making it sound like we just randomly destroyed a system for fun, not like we were addressing a fundamental injustice. I know, Emily agreed. Which is why your defense needs to be equally compelling. You need to make the council see not just the chaos of transition, but the justice of the cause and the positive outcomes that are already emerging. When the tribunal reconvened, it was the defense's turn. Charlie had chosen to represent herself, with Naruto serving as co-counsel and witness. She stood before the High Council with confidence that belied her nervousness. Honored counsel, what counselors Zadkiel presented was a chronicle of disruption without examination of necessity. Yes, altering the contract system created upheaval. But that system was fundamentally unjust, and injustice that goes unchallenged doesn't become less wrong with time, it becomes normalized. She activated a display that showed documentation they had prepared. Hell's contract system allowed souls to be owned, traded, and abused without recourse. Demons who had made agreements in moments of desperation or ignorance were bound for eternity to masters who could treat them however they wished. Charlie's presentation showed testimony from freed demons, their stories of abuse and exploitation laid bare before the council. Unlike Zadkiel's clinical presentation, Charlie's approach was emotional and personal, forcing the angels to confront the human cost of the system they were defending. I'm not claiming our actions were perfect, Charlie continued. Transition is always messy. But the alternative was allowing slavery to continue indefinitely, simply because ending it would be disruptive. That's not justice. That's cowardice disguised as prudence. She called witnesses to testify about positive outcomes from the liberation. Demons who had broken contracts and gone on to achieve redemption, their transformations complete and verified by heaven's own assessment protocols. Freed souls who had started businesses, formed families, pursued education, all things impossible under the old system. Naruto testified about his own experiences, describing the demons he had met who were trapped in abusive contracts with no hope of escape. He spoke about angel dust specifically, detailing the exploitation Valentino had subjected him to, and how breaking free had allowed Angel to finally pursue genuine transformation. The contract system wasn't just economically oppressive, Naruto argued. It was spiritually destructive. How can a soul pursue redemption when they don't even own themselves? How can they demonstrate genuine transformation when every choice is dictated by someone else? The system itself prevented the very redemption that heaven claims to support. The defense presentation lasted nearly as long as the prosecution's. By the time they finished, the emotional atmosphere in the chamber had shifted noticeably. Several angels looked troubled, clearly wrestling with the moral implications of the arguments they had heard. Michael called for final statements from both sides. Zadkiel spoke first, his argument focused on precedent and procedure. Regardless of the contract system's moral status, the accused had no authority to alter it unilaterally. There are proper channels for reform, diplomatic processes that exist specifically to handle disputes between heaven and hell. By bypassing these channels, the accused demonstrated contempt for divine order. Charlie's response was passionate and direct. With respect, counselor, we tried proper channels. We presented redemption evidence through official protocols. We followed every rule and guideline heaven established. And when we succeeded beyond anyone's expectations, when we proved redemption was genuinely possible, heaven responded by making the criteria stricter. She looked directly at Michael and the other council members. You can't demand people follow proper channels while simultaneously using those channels to prevent any real change. At some point, when every official avenue leads nowhere, action becomes necessary. We didn't bypass divine order, we challenged an unjust interpretation of it. The final arguments complete, Michael declared the tribunal's evidentiary phase concluded. The council will now deliberate in private. The accused will be informed of our decision within 3 days. Emily escorted them back through the portal to hell, her expression unreadable. As soon as they materialized in the hotel, Charlie's composure cracked. She collapsed into a chair, her hands shaking with delayed stress. I don't know if that was enough, she whispered. Zadkiel made such a strong case for the chaos we caused. What if the council decides that stability matters more than justice? Naruto knelt beside her, taking her hands. You were incredible. You made them see the reality behind the statistics, the actual souls affected by these policies. If they have any conscience at all, they'll vote in our favor. And if they don't? Charlie asked, looking at him with eyes full of fear. Then we deal with it. Together. The next 3 days were agony. Life at the hotel continued, but everyone was aware of the tribunal's pending decision. Residents tried to maintain normal routines, but anxiety permeated every activity. What if the council ruled against them? What if 17 successful redemptions were declared invalid? What if the entire program was shut down? Naruto found himself unable to train effectively, his concentration shattered by worry. He spent his time instead talking with residents, reassuring them that whatever happened, the hotel would continue fighting for their right to redemption. Angel sought him out on the second day, his expression unusually serious. Hey, golden boy. Got a minute? They retreated to a quiet corner of the lobby. Angel fidgeted with his hands, clearly struggling with what he wanted to say. If the tribunal goes bad, if heaven shuts down redemption for everyone connected to the hotel, I just want you to know that it was still worth it. Breaking free from Val, having actual choice about my life, that's been worth any consequence. Angel. Let me finish, Angel interrupted gently. I know you and Charlie are beating yourselves up about the risks you took. About how your actions might hurt people if things go wrong. But Naruto, you gave thousands of demons something they never had before. Hope. Agency. The possibility of being more than their worst moments. Even if it all falls apart tomorrow, you still changed hell for the better. Naruto felt emotion tightening his throat. Thank you. I needed to hear that. On the morning of the 3rd day, Emily appeared at dawn, her expression carefully neutral. The council has reached a verdict. They're ready to deliver their decision. The portal opened again, and Charlie and Naruto returned to the tribunal chamber. This time, the assembled angels looked grimmer, the weight of their decision evident in their bearing. Michael stood, his voice carrying through the vast space. Charlie Morningstar, Naruto Uzumaki, this council has carefully considered the charges against you and the evidence presented by both prosecution and defense. He paused, and the silence stretched unbearably. The council finds, by a vote of 7-6, that while your actions constituted unauthorized interference with hell's established systems, they were undertaken with legitimate moral justification and have produced demonstrably positive outcomes. Naruto felt his heart skip a beat. That sounded like, not guilty. Michael continued, therefore, the charges of cosmic interference and reality manipulation are dismissed with prejudice. You are free to return to hell without sanction. The relief was overwhelming, but Michael wasn't finished. However, this council also establishes new protocols for any future alterations to fundamental systems in either heaven or hell. Any proposed changes of similar magnitude must be submitted for joint review by both realms' governing bodies. This is non-negotiable. It was a compromise acknowledging the justice of what they had done while preventing similar unilateral actions in the future. Not perfect, but far better than Naruto had dared hope. Additionally, Michael said, his expression softening slightly, this council wishes to formally acknowledge the success of the Hazbin Hotel's redemption program. 17 souls have been transformed and accepted into heaven. This represents unprecedented success and demonstrates that redemption from hell is not only possible but achievable through the methods you've developed. He looked directly at Charlie. Your mother once believed in redemption before the weight of ruling hell made her cynical. You've proven that her original faith was justified. That's no small accomplishment, princess. The formal dismissal came shortly after. As they prepared to leave, several angels approached individually to congratulate them or express support. Emily was openly crying with joy, hugging them both tightly. You won, she kept repeating. Against all odds, you actually won. The return to hell was triumphant. Word of the verdict had already spread through the hotel's communication networks, and when Naruto and Charlie emerged from the portal, they were met with cheering crowds. Residents, freed demons, and supporters from across the Pride Ring had gathered to celebrate. Charlie was immediately swept up in hugs and congratulations. Vaggie grabbed her in a fierce embrace, tears streaming down her face. Angel lifted her off her feet, spinning her around while laughing. Even Alastor seemed genuinely pleased, his permanent grin somehow looking more authentic. Lucifer and Lilith appeared, both visibly relieved. Charlie's father embraced her tightly. I'm so proud of you. You stood before heaven's highest authority and defended your principles without backing down. That takes courage I wasn't sure any demon possessed. Lilith added, you've accomplished something remarkable, Charlotte. You've not only changed hell but forced heaven to acknowledge that change was necessary. That's historic. The celebration lasted well into the night. Music filled the air, demons danced in the streets, and for the first time since the liberation, the future felt secure rather than uncertain. Naruto found himself on the roof again as the party continued below. He needed a moment of quiet to process everything that had happened. Charlie joined him, as he had known she would. They stood together, looking out over Pentagram City, watching the celebration spread through the districts. We actually did it, Charlie said softly. We changed both heaven and hell. Made redemption official policy in both realms. You did it, Naruto corrected. I just helped. We did it together, Charlie insisted, taking his hand. And we're going to keep doing it. Helping more souls transform, proving that redemption isn't just possible but sustainable. She turned to face him, her expression serious. Naruto, I need to tell you something. During the tribunal, when everything seemed uncertain and I thought we might lose everything, all I could think about was how grateful I was to have you by my side. How much stronger I am because of you. Charlie. Let me finish, she interrupted gently. I love you. Not just as my partner in this mission, but as the person I want to spend eternity with. Whether that's here in hell or eventually in heaven, I don't care. I just want to be with you. Naruto pulled her close, emotion overwhelming him. I love you too. You've given me purpose and belonging in a place I never expected to find either. Whatever comes next, wherever we end up, I'm yours. That's a promise I'll never break. They kissed as fireworks exploded over Pentagram City, magical displays celebrating the victory. Below them, hell itself was transforming, becoming a place where hope existed alongside damnation, where change was possible even in eternal punishment. Naruto's ninja way had followed him even into death. And now, it was transforming the afterlife itself. One redeemed soul at a time. The war for Hell's soul was far from over. Challenges remained, enemies still plotted, and the full implications of what they had accomplished would take years to fully manifest. But for now, in this moment, they could celebrate. They had faced heaven's judgment and been vindicated. They had proven redemption was real. And they had done it together. The future stretched before them, full of possibility and promise. And Naruto intended to face it the same way he had faced every other impossible challenge. With courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that everyone deserved a second chance. Even in hell. Especially in hell. The weeks following the tribunal's favorable verdict brought a golden age to the Hazbin Hotel. Applications for the redemption program flooded in from across all the rings of hell, not just the Pride Ring. Demons who had spent centuries believing transformation was impossible now saw genuine hope, and they flocked to Charlie's vision with desperate enthusiasm. But success on this scale came with complications nobody had fully anticipated. Naruto stood in the hotel's expanded war room. What had once been a simple meeting space had evolved into a command center, managing redemption operations across multiple facilities, staring at reports that made his head spin. The hotel network now included 12 satellite locations, employed over 300 staff members, and housed more than 800 active residents pursuing redemption. This is unsustainable, Vaggie said bluntly, throwing another stack of applications onto the already overflowing desk. We're getting 200 new applications daily. Even with all our expansions, we can only accept maybe 20 per week while maintaining program quality. We're turning away demons who genuinely want redemption simply because we lack the infrastructure. Charlie looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes from weeks of minimal sleep. She had been personally overseeing operations at every facility, refusing to delegate in ways that would have preserved her sanity. We can't turn anyone away. Every soul that comes to us deserves a chance. "Charlie, you need to be realistic," Carmilla interjected. The weapons dealer had become an unofficial advisor to the hotel, her business acumen proving invaluable in managing the program's explosive growth. "You're going to burn out, and when you do, the entire operation will suffer. You need to accept that you can't save everyone simultaneously." "She's right," Naruto added, though it pained him to say it. He understood Charlie's refusal to turn people away. It was one of the things he loved about her, but he also saw how the impossible workload was destroying her. "We need to establish waiting lists, create preliminary programs for demons who can't get immediate entry. Something that provides support without overwhelming our resources." The discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert from Miss Pentious. Her voice crackled through the intercom system with barely controlled panic. "We have a situation at the Lustring facility. There's been an incident. Multiple casualties." The room froze. Casualties. In hell, that word carried weight beyond simple injury. Demons could be hurt, even temporarily killed and forced to respawn, but true casualties meant permanent damage to souls, the kind that made redemption impossible. "What happened?" Charlie demanded, already moving toward the door. "Reports are confused, but it appears a resident attempted a redemption technique beyond their capability. The backlash damaged their soul catastrophically, and the energy discharge injured several others in the vicinity. The facility's healers are overwhelmed." They mobilized immediately, Naruto opening a portal directly to the Lustring facility, using a technique Lucifer had taught him specifically for emergencies. They emerged into chaos. The facility's medical wing was a scene of controlled panic. Healers rushed between beds where injured demons writhed in pain, their souls visibly damaged and flickering with unstable energy. The smell of burned spiritual essence permeated the air, a scent like ozone mixed with something fundamentally wrong. The demon responsible for the incident lay in the central bed, their form barely holding together. Naruto recognized him, Marcus, not the original Marcus from the hotel, but one of the freed demons who had pursued redemption with almost manic intensity. His soul damage from breaking his contract had never fully healed, and now he had apparently tried to force a transformation his damaged essence couldn't support. What was he thinking? One of the healers said, checking Marcus's vital signs with increasing distress. He attempted a full purification ritual without proper preparation or supervision. The energy requirements alone should have killed him instantly, but somehow he managed to generate enough power that it just exploded. Charlie moved to Marcus's bedside, taking his hand gently. The demon's eyes flickered open, consciousness struggling against the damage overwhelming his system. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible. "I just wanted to be better. Wanted to prove I could be redeemed like the others. But my soul was too damaged. The contract breaking, it left scars too deep to heal." "Don't talk like that," Charlie said firmly, though tears were streaming down her face. "You're going to be fine. We'll heal you, and you can try again when you're ready." But the head healer, an ancient demon named Seraph who had been a physician in life, shook her head sadly. "Princess, the damage is too extensive. His soul is fragmenting. We can make him comfortable, but we can't stop the progression." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Marcus was dying, not physically but spiritually, his essence too damaged to maintain coherence. Within hours, he would simply cease to exist, not respawning in hell, but fading into absolute nothingness. Naruto felt rage building in his chest. This was his fault. They had broken the contract system knowing it would damage souls, but they hadn't fully considered the long-term implications. Marcus had been free, yes, but that freedom had cost him the very redemption he sought. "There has to be something we can do," Naruto said desperately, looking at Seraph. "Some technique or healing method we haven't tried." The ancient demon's expression was sympathetic but firm. "I've practiced medicine for 3,000 years, including 600 as a demon. I've seen every type of soul damage imaginable. This is beyond healing. The fundamental structure of his essence is collapsing." Charlie stayed with Marcus as his condition deteriorated, holding his hand and talking quietly. She told him about the good he had done since being freed, the demons he had helped, the progress he had made. By the time Marcus's soul finally fragmented completely, dissolving into nothingness with a sound like glass shattering, Charlie was openly sobbing. The other casualties were less severe but still troubling. 7 demons had been injured by the energy backlash, all suffering soul damage that would take months or years to heal. 2 might never fully recover, their paths to redemption permanently complicated by injuries sustained in a facility designed to help them. The incident sent shockwaves through the entire redemption network. Residents questioned whether pursuing transformation was worth the risk. Staff worried about inadequate safety protocols. Critics of the hotel used Marcus's death as evidence that the entire program was dangerous and reckless. Valentino, predictably, seized the opportunity with both hands. His media blitz painted the hotel as a death trap, where naive demons were encouraged to attempt dangerous spiritual transformations without proper oversight. "This is what happens when you let idealists play with forces they don't understand," he proclaimed on every channel Vox controlled. Souls are being destroyed in the name of redemption. The Overlord Council called an emergency session to review the incident and determine whether new regulations were needed for redemption facilities. Charlie was required to testify, explaining what had happened and what measures would be implemented to prevent similar tragedies. The session was brutal. Overlords who had opposed the liberation from the beginning used Marcus's death to attack the entire concept of redemption. They argued that the hotel was fundamentally unsafe, that encouraging demons to attempt transformation put them at risk they didn't fully understand. Charlie defended the program passionately but honestly. Marcus's death is a tragedy, and we bear responsibility for not having better protocols in place. We've already implemented changes, mandatory assessments before attempting any major transformation techniques, supervisors present during all high-risk procedures, improved healing capabilities at every facility. But you can't guarantee this won't happen again, Zizi pointed out, her tone more curious than accusatory. Redemption is inherently risky. You're asking demons to fundamentally alter their nature. Sometimes that's going to fail catastrophically. You're right, Charlie admitted, surprising the assembled overlords. I can't guarantee perfect safety. Transformation is difficult and sometimes dangerous. But the alternative is accepting eternal damnation without possibility of change. Marcus died pursuing redemption, yes. But he died free and hoping for something better. That's more than he had under the old system. The council ultimately decided not to impose new regulations, though the vote was close. The hotel's transparent response to the tragedy and immediate implementation of safety improvements satisfied enough overlords to prevent restrictive oversight. But the incident left deep scars. Charlie blamed herself completely, despite everyone trying to convince her otherwise. She spent hours reviewing the case, looking for warning signs she had missed, ways she could have prevented Marcus's death. Her guilt manifested as even more intense work, pushing herself harder to make the program safer and more effective. Naruto watched her spiral with growing concern. He tried to intervene, to make her rest and process her grief, but Charlie was like a force of nature when consumed by purpose. She would not stop, could not stop, as long as demons needed help. It took a confrontation from an unexpected source to finally break through her self-destructive pattern. Lilith arrived at the hotel unannounced one evening, finding Charlie in her office at 3 in the morning surrounded by paperwork and looking like she hadn't slept in days. The Queen of Hell took one look at her daughter and physically dragged her away from the desk. "Mom, I have work." "The work will still be there tomorrow," Lilith said firmly. "Right now, you need to stop punishing yourself for something that wasn't your fault." She guided Charlie to a private sitting room, physically sitting her down and refusing to let her leave. Naruto, who had been sleeping poorly himself due to worry about Charlie, joined them at Lilith's summoning. "Charlotte, look at me," Lilith commanded, her voice carrying maternal authority that even the Princess of Hell couldn't ignore. "You are not responsible for Marcus's death. He made a choice, a reckless choice, without consulting anyone. You created an environment where redemption is possible, not where it's mandatory or rushed. But if I had better protocols in place," Charlie started. "Then he might have found another way to push himself too hard," Lilith interrupted. "Some souls are so desperate for redemption that they'll take risks regardless of safety measures. You can't protect everyone from their own desperation." She took Charlie's hands, her expression softening. "I know you want to save everyone. It's one of your most beautiful qualities and one of your most dangerous. But darling, you're destroying yourself trying to achieve the impossible. You need to accept that you can't redeem every soul in hell personally." "But they're depending on me," Charlie whispered, tears finally breaking through her composure. "They're depending on the program you created, not on you sacrificing your own well-being," Naruto said gently. "Charlie, you've built something amazing. The hotel network is helping hundreds of demons pursue transformation. But if you burn out, if you work yourself into spiritual exhaustion, the whole thing could collapse. You need to delegate, to trust others to carry some of the burden." "How can I ask others to do work I'm not willing to do myself?" Charlie asked. "You're not asking them to do less," Lilith explained patiently. "You're asking them to help manage a program that's become too large for any single person to oversee. That's not weakness, Charlotte. That's wisdom." The conversation continued for hours, Lilith and Naruto tag teaming to convince Charlie that she needed to take better care of herself. Eventually, exhaustion and emotional overload combined to break through her resistance. "Okay," Charlie finally agreed, her voice small and tired. "I'll delegate more. I'll actually sleep. I'll stop trying to personally oversee every aspect of the program. And you'll take a vacation," Lilith added firmly. "A real one, away from the hotel and all redemption work. You and Naruto both need time to process what happened and reconnect with each other without the weight of running a revolution." Charlie looked at Naruto, who nodded agreement. "Your mom's right. We've been so focused on the program that we've barely had time for us. A break would be good." The vacation was scheduled for 2 weeks later, giving Charlie time to properly hand off responsibilities and ensure the hotel network could function without her direct oversight. Vaggie took over daily operations at the main hotel. Alastor, surprisingly, volunteered to manage the expansion planning. Angel coordinated the support programs for freed demons dealing with contract trauma. The delegation forced Charlie to confront how much she had been micromanaging, trying to personally handle every decision in crisis. It was painful at first, letting go of control, but the staff proved more than capable of managing without her constant involvement. Lucifer suggested they vacation in a neutral realm, a pocket dimension he maintained specifically for times when the politics of heaven and hell became too overwhelming. It was beautiful in ways that transcended either realm's aesthetic, with landscapes that shifted based on the visitor's emotional states and needs. They arrived through a portal that opened directly from the hotel, emerging into a meadow of impossible colors under a sky that displayed multiple sunsets simultaneously. The air felt different here, neither heaven's perfect purity nor hell's oppressive weight, but something balanced and peaceful. "This is incredible," Charlie breathed, taking in the surroundings with wonder. Naruto had to agree. After months of constant stress and crisis management, the simple act of being somewhere beautiful and calm felt almost alien. His body didn't know how to relax anymore, muscle memory keeping him alert for threats that didn't exist here. They spent the first day simply walking through the dimension-shifting landscapes. Fields became forests, became mountains, became beaches, the environment responding to their moods and creating spaces that felt safe and nurturing. Neither spoke much, both processing the events of recent months in their own ways. That evening, they sat together watching one of the permanent sunsets, the sky painted in colors that had no names. Charlie leaned against Naruto, her exhaustion evident in every line of her body. "I keep seeing his face," she said quietly. "Marcus, I mean. The way he looked when his soul started fragmenting. The hope in his eyes that we could save him, and the moment when he realized we couldn't." Naruto wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "I know. I see it too. Does it get easier? Losing people you tried to save?" The question made Naruto's chest ache with old pain. "No. It never gets easier. Every person I couldn't save, everyone I lost despite my best efforts, they stay with me. But over time, you learn to carry the grief without letting it destroy you." "How?" Naruto thought carefully before answering. "By remembering that their deaths don't diminish the value of trying to save them. Marcus died pursuing redemption, yes. But he also lived free for several months, made genuine connections, helped other demons. His death was tragic, but his life after freedom wasn't meaningless." Charlie was quiet for a long moment. "Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing. Breaking the contract system, I mean. We freed thousands of demons, but some of them like Marcus weren't ready for freedom. The damage from breaking their contracts made redemption harder or impossible. Did we help them or just give them a different kind of suffering?" "We gave them choice," Naruto said firmly. "That's what freedom means. The choice to pursue redemption even if it's risky. The choice to fail while trying rather than never trying at all. Yes, some demons like Marcus will make choices that end badly. But that's their right. We can provide support and guidance, but we can't make their choices for them. But what if more demons die like Marcus did? What if our program, our dream, ends up hurting as many souls as it helps?" Naruto turned to face her directly, his blue eyes intense. "Charlie, listen to me. 23 demons have achieved full redemption through your program. 23 souls that were damned to eternal suffering have been transformed and accepted into heaven. That's not even counting the hundreds who are actively working toward redemption, whose lives have improved because they have hope and purpose now." He took her hands. "Marcus's death was a tragedy. But it doesn't erase the good you've accomplished. It doesn't make the program a failure. It just means we need to keep improving, keep learning, keep trying to help without losing sight of the risks." Tears streamed down Charlie's face. "I'm so tired, Naruto. Tired of fighting, tired of defending what we're doing, tired of carrying the weight of everyone's hopes and expectations. Sometimes I just want to be Charlotte, not the princess of hell or the founder of redemption. Just me." "Then be just you," Naruto said softly. "Here, in this place, you don't have to be anyone else. No responsibilities, no expectations. Just Charlie and Naruto, taking a break from saving the world." The next several days were unlike anything either of them had experienced since the hotel's founding. They allowed themselves to simply exist without purpose or agenda. They explored the dimension's impossible geography, swam in lakes that reflected memories instead of light, and had conversations that had nothing to do with redemption or politics. One evening, while lying together under stars that sang instead of just shining, Charlie asked a question she had been holding back. "Naruto, do you ever regret it? Dying, I mean. Ending up in hell instead of whatever afterlife your world had planned for you?" Naruto considered this carefully. "Sometimes. I miss my friends, the people I left behind. I wonder what happened to my world after I died, whether the peace I fought for lasted. But regret? No. Because ending up here led me to you, to this mission, to a purpose that feels just as important as anything I did while alive." He turned to look at her. "What about you? Do you regret starting the hotel, knowing everything it's cost you? Never, Charlie answered immediately. Even with Marcus's death, even with all the stress and opposition and complications, I wouldn't change what we've done. We've proven redemption is possible. We've given hope to souls who had none. That's worth any personal cost. She hesitated before continuing. But I do wonder sometimes what would have happened if I'd never started this. If I'd just accepted hell as it was and lived a comfortable existence as the princess without challenging anything. Would I be happier? Would the people around me be safer? You'd be miserable, Naruto said with certainty. You're not built to accept injustice quietly. It's one of the things I love about you, that stubborn determination to make things better even when everyone says it's impossible. Charlie smiled, the first genuine smile Naruto had seen from her in weeks. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Two idealists trying to reform the afterlife with nothing but determination and reckless courage. And love, Naruto added. Don't forget love. He pulled her closer, and they kissed under the singing stars, the dimension around them shifting to reflect their emotional connection with displays of light and color that were impossibly beautiful. The vacation's final days were spent in deep conversations about the future. They discussed plans for the hotel network, strategies for managing growth without sacrificing quality, and ways to improve safety protocols to prevent tragedies like Marcus's death. But they also talked about personal futures. About what they wanted for themselves beyond the redemption mission. About whether they saw themselves eventually pursuing their own redemption and ascending to heaven, or choosing to remain in hell as forces for positive change. I think I want to stay in hell, Charlie said during one such conversation. Even if I achieve redemption personally, even if heaven would accept me. Hell needs people who believe it can be better. If everyone good leaves, this place will never change. Naruto found himself agreeing. Angel said something similar. That redemption doesn't have to mean leaving hell, just choosing to be good within it. I like that philosophy. So we stay, Charlie said. We keep running the program, keep helping souls transform, keep fighting to make hell a place of rehabilitation, rather than just punishment. Together. Together, Naruto confirmed. For as long as it takes. They returned to hell refreshed and refocused, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. The hotel staff welcomed them back with obvious relief apparently, things had been running smoothly in their absence, but everyone felt better having the founders present again. Vaggie pulled them both aside immediately. We need to discuss something important. While you were gone, we received a formal invitation from heaven. They want to conduct a comprehensive review of the redemption program not for regulatory purposes, but to potentially adopt our methods for use in heaven itself. Charlie's eyes widened. Heaven wants to use our program? But why? They already have souls there who don't need redemption. Not for current residents, Vaggie clarified. For newly arrived souls who aren't quite pure enough for standard heaven admission. Apparently, there's a massive backlog of borderline cases, people who aren't evil enough for hell, but aren't virtuous enough for immediate heaven acceptance. Right now, they just exist in limbo. Heaven wants to create a redemption pathway for them using our model. Naruto saw the implications immediately. If heaven adopts our program, it legitimizes redemption beyond anything we've accomplished so far. It becomes official cosmic policy, not just a hell-specific experiment. Exactly, Vaggie agreed. But it also means opening ourselves to intense scrutiny. Heaven will want access to our methods, our curriculum, our success and failure rates. Everything. Charlie looked at Naruto, a question in her eyes. He nodded. We do it, Charlie decided. We share everything with heaven. If it means more souls get helped, if it means redemption becomes standard practice across all realms, then transparency is worth it. The review process was scheduled to begin in 1 month, giving the hotel time to prepare comprehensive documentation. It would be another test, another opportunity to prove their methods worked. But unlike previous challenges, this one felt more like recognition than opposition. Heaven wasn't trying to shut them down or undermine their work. They were asking for help, acknowledging that the hotel had developed something valuable that the celestial realm itself could learn from. As Naruto stood on the hotel roof that evening, watching the red sky of hell fade to deeper crimson, he reflected on how far they had come. 6 months ago, they had been fighting just to survive, to prove redemption was possible at all. Now they were being consulted by heaven itself, their methods potentially becoming cosmic policy. Charlie joined him, as she always did. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching their impossible dream continue to reshape reality. Naruto. Charlie said after a while. Yeah? Thank you. For everything. For believing in me when no one else did. For fighting beside me through every impossible challenge. For loving me despite all my flaws and stubborn idealism. Naruto pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. Thank you for giving me a purpose worth fighting for. For showing me that even in hell, hope exists. For being the most amazing person I've ever known, alive or dead. They held each other as hell's twisted stars emerged, two souls who had found each other in the most unlikely place and built something that was changing eternity itself. The journey was far from over. Challenges remained. But they would face them together. Because that was what love meant in hell. Using each other every day despite the darkness. And building light anyway. Thanks for watching my video and have a lovely day. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.